live. And if you guys could just give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right there on TikTok. I want to make sure I'm not talking to myself. That would be greatly appreciated. Welcome everyone on Instagram. Hopefully you guys can hear and see me all right. Please let me know if you can. And welcome everyone on YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium. Okay, thank you so much, TikTok. Thank you for the hearts as well. Welcome everyone on YouTube. I did recently change the name from at Ask Ivy to at Ask Ivy the Medium. This is a legitimate account. And so nothing to worry about there. I know there are a lot of fakes and frauds out there who will contact you and try to get you to pay for a reading. And of course, that is not me. Always report them or ignore them. We have a bunch of prepays here. Early donations came in for tonight's show. We do have a little typo on the top on the title here. I don't know, Diana, if you're able to fix that or if that's going to have to wait until after. But it says like past and then L, and then we have lives again. Okay, so we have tonight past life readings. This is a test show. If it does well, if it gets a bunch of engagement from you guys and positive reviews, I will be adding this to my 2026 show lineup. I love doing past life readings. Okay, I've been doing them probably since I had my first past life flashback. I was 15 when I fully understood that I was having them and what it was. It's a very dramatic story, and I won't get into it, but it was it basically involved a lover and some very heated situation, and I went into a trance state, and I saw both of us as who we were in that past life and how that storyline played out. And I was immediately able to apply that to where I was currently in this life. And I really feel like in a lot of ways it saved me from what could have been a very dangerous situation. I realized at that time I had been having past life flashbacks, or I would have dreams where I was reverting back to past lives on a regular basis. And I just didn't understand that's what was going on. You know, when you're a kid, you don't really question things in the same way. And so after that incident, when I was 15, I was able to tap into past lives like that for myself, for other people, based on atmospheres and different buildings or situations I was involved in. And I absolutely love doing this almost as much as dream analysis. So hopefully this gets a great response out of you guys. And again, if it does, I will add it to the 2026 show lineup. So you guys are going to drop your $10 donation, and then you can ask a specific question about your life currently, how it's connected to a past life, question about whatever your past lives, where you were, who you were with, how it's affecting you now. A lot of people have questions about certain relationships that are going on right now. They want to know if they were with that person in the past, certain health conditions, maybe just a struggle you're having in your life right now, and you want to know if it is connected to a past life. But I don't want to color this for you. It's really whatever you feel intrigued by, or you are curious and want answers to. Knowing your past lives is incredibly healing. It's really important for our development. It's not something we can dismiss. And if you don't have a specific question, you can just drop a $10 donation, and I will deliver out whatever is the most important message for you to hear at this time, meaning how are your past lives affecting you currently? Okay. A couple quick announcements while we let everybody tune in. Also, if you are on Instagram or TikTok, Diana, my beautiful producer, is going to be dropping the instructions in the comment section over and over and over again, showing you how you can leave your donation. All right, because we're not allowed to put anything in the description or pin, I think, even comments. If you are here on YouTube, you can do everything under one umbrella. The payment, the question, you could see everything. When you see your name pop up, that means that you're next. So I do want to give a shout out real quick to my YouTube members. Thank you so much for your continued support. McKenna, Nature Calls You, Kim Dennison, Denise Bennett, Lucy Marsh, Jayla Hilly, Edgar Velardes, Melissa S., Jennifer Cole, Christine Watts, Miami Heat 305-ish, Angie Johnson, Jill Marie, CJG, Yolanda Fisher, Shauna Dempsey, Demetris, Language Through Connection, Deanna Marie, Murray D, Chicken Mama, Tristan Marion, Me Love 716, Andrea M, Vanessa, Stella Marie, and if I forgot anyone, I apologize. I will get you next time. If you want to become one of my YouTube members, you can go on to my channel at Ask Ivy the Medium, hit the join button. It'll show you the 3 different tiers of membership options, and you can pick and choose what you want. So my YouTube members are getting things like a monthly horoscope, a monthly mini class, a direct email reading, which literally pays for the entire subscription itself. You get weekly spirit messages and a whole bunch of other fun things. Okay, so an Ask Ivy exclusive show once a month where you get my undivided attention. It's pretty fun. All right, so check it out. A couple quick announcements. We do have here, haunted sleepover experiences. Book your group up to 25 people for a haunted sleepover. This is an 1882 Victorian funeral home. We are on the Haunted History Trail of New York State. And if you're not into the paranormal, you don't want to book a ghost hunt or a haunted sleepover, you can book your group for a historical tour. We are on the historical trail of Chautauqua County as well. So check the place out. And we have raffle tickets on sale. These are starting to go like hotcakes. Okay, so you guys are going to want to get your raffle tickets now. The raffle for the psychic mediumship course beginning February 3rd. This is going to get you a 100% free seat to the course. And we draw the winner on January 14th. So check that out. Also coming up is the psychic mediumship course. So this is going to be February 3rd. We start. Now you can attend here at the Ivy League Psychic Academy if you want. Keep weather conditions in mind. I am in New York. You can also do video download if you're unable to attend online, but you also have the online options. So what most students are doing, because we're adult learning, let's face it, life happens. Most people are trying to attend classes online, but in the event that they have to miss for a week, they just get the video download. So most people are doing like a mix of different things. This is not a gift. This is an innate ability in every single human being, all walks, all ages, both genders, all genders, whatever your gender. This is something that has been taken away from us by society, and my goal is to reconnect everyone with their intuitive intelligence. Again, an innate ability. So I hope to see you there. Also, if you're looking to do this professionally, this is going to be the course for you. So check out the Psychic Mediumship course. Also book your holiday party now. Holiday parties are booking up fast. I do corporate events, businesses, family parties. If your event is really huge, sometimes I do corporate events and there are hundreds and hundreds of people. There's no way to get to all of them. So they will hire on one of my Ivy League psychic fairs. So I can come and do a gallery show, but we can also do private readings and we can spread out. You've got tarot, you've got astrology, Reiki if you want it, psychic mediumship, all the things, right? So if you want to book a party, a psychic fair with me, you can go on to the website to do that. All of this is up on Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. We also have holiday gift certificates are now available to get a reading or a healing with me for Ivy's Healing Call Center, 7 days a week, certified readers and healers from the Ivy League Psychic Academy, and for classes. Okay, also at the Ivy League Psychic Academy. So yeah, get a gift certificate, give it out to someone for the holidays. Okay, give them a gift of love. Yes, Azzy, Mama. Azzy is here. She heard the camera turn on, so she wants to, of course, get her fill of adoration here. What else do we have going on? Reiki training. So I am a Reiki master. I've been training people in Reiki for, 15 years, maybe more than that. But so if you are looking to get certified in your Reiki levels 1 and 2 or your masters, you can come and join us here for that. That's going to be March 14th from 3 to 9 p.m. Eastern, online or in person. There's already a video download. So if you don't want to wait, you could just go ahead and get the video download that's up on my website already and get certified in that. But I hope to see you. So Reiki is an amazing way to channel healing energy from the universe that's intelligent. It knows where to go, and it really gives back to you as well. So hope to see you for that training. We have also the last announcement I want to make today is about this show tonight and the other shows that we've been doing. So I am testing out pet readings Friday, which is going to be the 28th. If you give a great response, I get a ton of interaction for that show. I will be adding that one to the 2026 lineup. So I will be giving pet readings for your living or deceased pet this upcoming Friday. And if you need to book a pet reading at any time, it's up on my website. Also, the other show, What Blessings Are Coming Your Way, that we did a test run on last Friday, was such a huge hit. Thank you so much, everyone, that I have officially added it. All right. So it is part of the 2026 lineup. And you guys gave such positive reviews on that show. I added it also to my website. So if you ever need a pick-me-up or you know someone who does, you could just go onto my website. I'm getting that up there tonight, maybe tomorrow. But it's going to say, you know, what blessing is coming your way. And you could just book it and you'll get an audio reading from me. So thank you again, you guys. That was a ton of fun, that show. That was the first test show we did. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this. I'm never pleased with the hair. There's just, I have to stop looking at it at some point. It has a life of its own. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Arawak, and this is my past life readings test show. That means that I'm testing it out. And if you give a great response, if there's a lot of engagement, there's a demand for it, I will be adding this to my 2026 show lineup. We will have a couple new shows that I want to test out later on in December as well. So stay tuned for those. We have officially decided to add What Blessings Are Coming Your Way. If you missed it, go back and watch. We ran it as a test on Friday and it was a huge hit. All right, so check it out. And on Friday, we are doing pet readings. So tune in to get a reading on your living or deceased pet. Now, for today's show, drop a $10 donation. If you are on Instagram or TikTok, Diana, my beautiful producer, is posting the directions on how you can do that. If you're here on YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium, you could do it all under one umbrella. You could drop your donation, your question, and watch your name pop up. It means you're next. And if you have a specific question about your past lives or someone in your life currently, you want to know what that connection was, any question goes, you can post a specific question. If you don't, it's just open-ended. What I'm going to do is tell you what information is important for you to hear at this time, meaning what past lives are affecting you now and how can you use that info, okay, to grow, heal, expand, whatever it is. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first one we have is CJG. CJG did not have a specific question, I'm assuming. So I'm just going to go ahead and give a general reading. Okay, if you guys did drop an early donation and you haven't dropped your question yet, but you've thought of one, go ahead and drop it soon and alert Diana, okay, to that. So CJG, just a general reading, past life reading for CJG. I feel like one of the things you may have gone through is a bit of a struggle with mobility. You would have, looks like you're presenting as a female. I want to say 30s, early 30s, looking like you're struggling quite a bit. This feels very like pioneer days, Caucasian, light brown hair. You're a bit of a mess. Honestly, this was a situation where you may have been taking things to a market. You are in business, which is great. You were successful at it. You were eating just fine. You even look a little bit plump to me. Although you ate a lot of bread, but still, carbs will do that to the body. But you weren't starving. You were fine. You were doing all right. But I think what may have happened was that there was some type of a battle or an attack. It feels like on the town, and I see you struggling to escape some dangerous situations. And this could have put you in a position where you lost your ability to get to town and sell. You lost essentially your business. When we lose our livelihood, it hits us mentally, emotionally, physically, in all the ways. And you seem to be running from not someone specific, but activity happening behind you that was unsafe into what looks like the woods and up a hill. And you may have had an injury to your left hip area, the lower back, and up like through your thigh, or down, I guess I want to say, through your thigh. Possibly also the right foot and ankle may have been twisted, and some twisting here in the right wrist and hand. What does that mean for you? Basically, in your life at this time, because you're reliving a lot of the unfinished business, the lessons, you're also using that past life for like tools, wisdom, power. So all the skills you had back then transfer. So you're tapping into the unfinished business, but you're also tapping into the prosperity. At this time in your life, you need to be careful. And I can't prescribe or diagnose. We want to protect the lower back, the hip, the upper thigh. Esmeralda Marie Rivera, everybody. Say hi, Ezzy. Okay. We love you. So the other parts of the body that I mentioned also, okay, the right foot, the ankle, the right hand, the wrist, the fingers, things like this. Just be careful for injury, because we're prone to whatever part of the body may have been affected in a previous life. It'll come through as like a birthmark, a scar, an accident prone area. Okay. And not necessarily for your whole life, but definitely for the time that you're being affected by that life. So keep that in mind. Okay. Also, the lower back here can be people gossiping against you. This could be triangulation. This could be you speaking and communicating your truth, but being disregarded, disrespected, shut down. When there are communication issues in systems that you're sort of entrapped in, it can build as an energy in the lower back. So that's just a side note. I think the really important thing here that you may be dealing with is feeling a lack of stability, feeling that it's hard to trust what you had once trusted. You may feel a loss of home, a loss of security. You may be struggling to feel like you can really trust your foundation, your finances, and definitely male activity. Okay? So what can you do about it? Well, she's crazy right now. She's like jumping up. Yeah. Okay. I think right now what you can do is focus on salvaging everything that you have, building it up even stronger, keeping your ideas to yourself, and finding additional outlets for security. So this could be a side hustle, this could be extra work, but be confident that you are more than capable of taking care of yourself. Don't let it rattle you to the core, creating almost like more problems, okay, because you're having paranoid thinking or fear-based thinking. Because regardless of what happened, you did get out of that situation, okay, and you did end up okay. All right, really interesting. Let's move on to another one. We've got Anne Marie Delora. Anne Marie Delora, and she does not have a specific question. So let's see what comes up. Anne Marie Delora, what past life or past lives are affecting you now? be careful for gluttony, be careful for greed, be careful for I see you as a large male. Um you look Caucasian, but you're awfully dark. I do wonder if this is like almost like Rome. You seem very tan. Okay. So darker skin, but still technically a white guy, I guess you could say. Quite overweight, drinking and guzzling. You know who it reminds me a little bit of is the king on Game of Thrones who got speared by the wild boar. Um, you know, and this was typical for people of wealth at that time. I want to say to be eating and consuming a lot of fatty meats and things like that, wine and anything sweet, a lot of desserts. You may have had gout, but regardless, you were happy. I mean, you were certainly a happy guy. I do worry, though, that with the power that you had and the wealth that you had and this, quite frankly, gluttonous lifestyle that you had, it could be coming around in this current life for you as a temptation. And I'm not just talking about like the holidays. Everybody eats more during the holidays. I'm talking about trying to escape or avoid your feelings, your thoughts, not wanting to really get comfortable in your discomfort, not wanting to analyze what isn't working in certain relationships that feel threatening to you if they don't work out. So this could be with in marriage, or this could be with family, or even an employer. Sometimes we just want to avoid looking at that, and it makes it worse by avoiding it. And we can lean into avoidant and escapist behaviors that almost look addictive at times. So that could be overeating, that could be drinking, drugging, whatever it is. You may get into workaholism more now, in this period of your life. And I even want to say 2 months back, this really started, but you still got like 2 months to go. This is a 4-month period of intensity where you're being tested in this area. This could also be, though, where you're feeling very much like, I have to create a workout routine. And I'm not talking about like a New Year's resolution. I'm talking about an actual lifestyle change where you're eating different. You're being more mindful of your cortisol levels. You're being more centered. You're not overreaching with other people. So I am cool, calm, collected. I am centered within myself, and I am making healthy choices across the board. That would be the goal. Okay. This could be a huge breakthrough for you, because while that is the last life that's affecting you in this way, you had 2 other lives where you didn't do great with this lesson for other reasons. And you didn't have the tools available to you at that time. So you're kind of getting some free passes on that, but you do have all the tools available to you in this life. This is a you decision. So it is up to you to choose, okay, to pick that higher vibration. It's really about self-care and fluidity and acceptance. Okay, good luck with that. You may have had a pattern of this too. I don't know if this is just like in your past and or attracting people who have the same problems. And this is just maybe a general message for everyone I'm getting, but like when you attract people, most of your friends and family and lovers or whatever are drinkers, or you're trying to get out of this pattern in your own life, let me tell you, the universe is going to test you by putting people all around you who have that exact problem. And it could be like a misery loves company type of a situation. Okay. So you will possibly be held back by the company you keep. So just be mindful. Let's move on to Mairead. Mairead does not have a specific question, it looks like. So I am just going to go ahead and give a general message here for Mairead. Mairead, past life reading, what is affecting you now? Wow, you seem pissed. You seem really, really angry. This is a time for you to kind of rage, It's like, I'm raging against the machine. I'm raging against the system. I'm raging against family dynamics, generational curses, which aren't a real thing, of course, but generational programming is. And maybe even like the patriarchy. I'm hearing like rage against the law that set this in place. I feel like I'm going back to Egypt with you. You look like a younger male, but you're very, it's hard to tell by your face exactly how old you are. I want to say, you're looking like high teens. Yeah, maybe 21, maybe something like this. You are very fit, okay? So you're really muscular. So one of the things that could be happening for you right now, and you're in a 3-year period of dealing with this. So your body will be affected for 3 years. This will pop up regularly for 3 years. And it feels like your metabolism. That's one positive side effect you can expect from this. Your metabolism may really activate, kick in, okay? Jumpstart your whole body. Muscle tone, building on, okay? Muscle mass. It's going to be super easy for you. So anything you do with like resistance training, all the things. You seem to be really fast. You seem to be very strong, and you seem to be a worker at that time. You had plans for your future. You were looking to marry. You were looking to, I want to say, create a normal life for yourself. You wanted to be there to support your family and your community, and you just seem like a normal person. Okay. But there were attacks to buy, I'm hearing, the system. So this could have been tax collectors. This could have been, it feels almost like dirty cops, dirty government, legal systems, toxic systems that came in and sort of disrupted everything. It almost has a Palestinian feel to it. I think of Gaza, and I think of the entrapment and the chronic destruction by people who had more power and money than them and took over like their land, their space. They're invading, right? So it is this rage coming out of you, where you would have gone from this normal mainstream worker. You worked with your hands, you were kind of like a construction guy. See you working with like, feels like a lot of bricks or building on, buildings and, roads and things like this. I mean, you went from that to basically being a politician. You were essentially speaking out to organize, or like a union rep. You became the voice of reason and rebellion and revolution. And I think you're one of these, lost characters that, never made it to the books. There's no movie on you, but you helped hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of people by leading in this activism position. This righteous rage, instead of giving into fear and crumbling and hiding away. And I think what's happening at this point in your life, and again, this is a 3-year process, and you're only like two to 4 months in, maybe 5. What's going to be happening is that you may say things you didn't plan on saying. Now, again, because this is also masculine energy, you may seem less feminine and more masculine to yourself, to others. But that masculine energy is go after it, go get it. It's action oriented. Okay. So, I mean, hopefully you're not like growing a beard or anything weird. Hopefully you are just saying without intention what is really on your mind and what is just and fair in situations where you normally wouldn't have. And I think you're going to want to really lean into that. Also, if you are speaking up for other people, or you are speaking up, because this isn't just about yourself, even through like any kind of communication work that you can do, don't be surprised if it takes on a very different tone from what you had originally planned. Like, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do a YouTube video and I'm going to heal people. And instead, it's like spit and fire here. I'm burning the old system down. Really interesting. Edgar Velardes. And it looks like Edgar does not have a specific question. So I'm just going to go ahead and give whatever is coming up. Ezzy, what are you doing? She is a busy girl tonight. Okay. Edgar Velardes. Edgar, what am I getting for you? Past life reading for Edgar. You are looking like a mother, tucking in some kids. I thought these were your kids. Now I'm realizing these are not your children. So you would have had a past life where you were a little bit plump. You are an African American woman. You are caretaking over some white lady's kids. You are tucking them into bed. You are thinking about your own children or wishing that you could instead be with your own children, but this is where you have to be right now. You are doing it with love. You are doing it with the softest of intentions. And this isn't performative for your job. It is because you have a beautiful heart and soul. And you are looking at your future and wondering when you're going to get out, when you're going to be able to do something for you. And you're wondering a bit if you should shut that down because having hope is causing you more pain than good. And it looks like what you ultimately decided to do with this overall experience is to write about it. So you may have journaled, you may have published, you may have given out through storytelling was a big thing for you. So I see you like rocking in a chair and talking to people. I see people gathering around you almost like you are church. Okay. Almost like you are the word of God or the universe, right? You are the word of spirit in highest intelligence and vibration. Through this storytelling, you would make up all these stories. It was an escape for you, and you would make people feel better, or you would sometimes scare them, or you would intrigue them at the very least. This is provocative information. You are good at it. You are also musically inclined. I see you humming and I see you singing, and I see you singing with what feels almost like I think you wrote these songs, but I also have you working with other people where it's like they're playing instruments and you're singing. And it, again, I get this feeling of almost like church or a spiritual service of some kind. Ultimately, what this means for you now is that you are struggling a little bit to tap into that part of yourself because you do not want to be locked down. You don't want anything else taken away from you. You feel like you want to fight, or you are fearful about entrapment and systems. You are going through what feels like the last phases. And I think for you, this may go about 6 to 8, maybe 9 months, you'll see it peak, where you need to not be afraid to speak your truth. Use your voice, whether it's singing, performing, storytelling. You're doing healing work for others, and it's coming from unconventional places or places you didn't expect to. And you have up until this point not wanted to let it out. Okay. So let it out and give it. And that is the final stage of your evolution from that life. It may also be a calling now to get something printed, published, podcasted, down on paper. Any of your enlightenment, your alchemy. Okay, the transmutation from pain to power. What are those stories? You're going to be getting them out. Okay, if you choose to. This is always everything I'm saying tonight to all of you guys. It's like, if you choose to, if you choose to. This is not, whenever we're talking about past lives and the karma and the alchemy and the things that need to be done, this isn't destiny charted. The reason it exists as a past life is because you didn't do it. You already didn't do it. Now, there could be a million reasons why, and it could have happened again and again and again. What I'm telling you is that you need to do it. I'm not telling you you will do it or that it's going to happen this way. I'm telling you this is the point, and this is what you need to make happen. So when we talk about the future, there is destiny charted future. There are things that will occur, and they are written in the stars, 100%. But there's also free will future. So whether or not you engage in it, how you engage in it, right? All of that matters a ton. All right, let's move on to Stella Rocky. And it looks like there's no question here for this one either. So I am just going to go ahead and give whatever I am receiving. So Stella Rocky, what past life or lives are affecting Stella right now? Okay. You would have gone through a period of time. I feel like I'm in Switzerland, like that area, what is today, and I feel like I'm choking a bit. You may have a huge sensitivity for this life for people with disabilities, or I like to call them other abled. and stigmas that they have to deal with. You may have thought at some point like you wanted to go into medicine or teaching with the disabled. Yeah, even learning disabilities, whatever it is. But it seems like what you would have gone through during that time was a bit of an entrapment for your own self physically. You weren't able to fully speak and communicate, not because you couldn't, but due to neglect. I think you were born with some disabilities that affected your mobility, quite literally. So the ankles and the feet in this life, you may have had to be quite careful with. Now, this has been influencing you ballpark 18 years. Also, the elbows, the upper back and shoulder blades, and down through the hands. So it does appear to be something maybe in the neurological system. I can't prescribe a diagnosis. Again, I don't know, but it does look to me like mobility due to lack of muscle control, then the bones and the joints are affected. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Okay. But ultimately, you're not able to move around in the way that you wished you could. Now, your soul was very high vibrational. And when you were very small, you did have mobility. So this may have hit between 4 and 8 years old for you. So you went from having a somewhat ordinary lifestyle and a ton of mobility. This is the second time Game of Thrones came up. If there's the boy who was climbing the wall, he would always run and climb. And that dude who was screwing his sister up in the tower who pushed him. Okay. And then the boy ended up being like in a coma for a while. And then he was this like master of the universe, right? His third eye was open. His crown was open. He became a seer, which happens when we go through experiences like this. You are automatically a level 4 empath. You're automatically, intuitively intelligent at the highest levels, prophecy, all the things. But he felt trapped because he had so many years of climbing and running and mobility. So there's that energy going on here. You are financially stable. You have family. I see you living in what looks like a stone, almost like a mansion, really. So you had all these luxuries, but you didn't feel that you were able to enjoy them because people didn't treat you like an equal. So other than one lady who seems to be maybe a maid and someone who seems to be a sister, but who can run off and live her life at any time. So you may have felt abandoned by that. So watch out for a sibling relationship of abandonment and parental abandonment issues working out in your life around this time. Again, they could be, instigated by the holidays, but because people didn't talk to you or give you enough time to practice, you developed a closed throat chakra. Okay. So one of the other things you're working on right now is being careful, mindful that you are speaking your truth. There is no question about what your truth is. You're not a confused person, but you don't always want to speak it. So it's speaking your truth, and if it's disrespected, negated, ignored, you're going to have to start setting some boundaries in those areas, possibly walking away, choosing yourself, picking yourself first, not settling. The theme in this life is don't settle. Don't settle. Okay. Just because you feel like you have to take whatever crumbs fall on the floor for you. Manny C. I should have also mentioned that past lives can be a little hard to hear about. That's probably obvious by now. Because they wouldn't be affecting you if there wasn't unfinished business, so just be mindful of that. Sometimes past life, which is why I don't recommend people go into past life regressions. A lot of people who go under hypnosis struggle for the rest of their life after that. They can't come back out of it. Be very careful. Okay. And if you ever want to book a past life reading with me, it's up on my website. I do not require you go through hypnosis. I'm simply telling you what's going on. You stay in full control, okay, of your body. But yeah, it can be hard, so hope this isn't a downer of a show. Whatever. I guess we'll see in the ratings. Okay. Manny C. It looks like Manny did not have a question. So I am just going to go ahead and give whatever. Okay. So Manny, past lives affecting you now. You seem to have been in battle. This looks like literal armor and what almost looks like an axe of some kind. I'm sure there's a name for this. If you guys can let me know in the comment section. Um, it looks like the type of tool that they would have used in beheadings and things like this. To me, in 2025, it looks similar to an axe, that you would have chopped wood with. But anyways, I see you in what feels like a battle, and you are getting hit from behind right here. So it's very similar to what we say in using a weapon. Never pick a weapon that you don't want to have turned against you. Now, I don't feel necessarily like your own weapon was turned against you, but there was a very similar weapon used on you. And so you are going to want to be careful at this point of your upper right shoulder, that whole, neck, even upper back area, and anything involving especially the right arm. But take it for both arms just in case I'm mixing them. I don't think so. Now, I can't, again, prescribe or diagnose, but you could be prone to pinched nerves, any injuries around here. And because, unfortunately, your passing did occur from this, you could even have a birthmark or have had an earlier in life injury here. This is often where I'm 8 years old and I'm on the swings at the playground, or I'm up on the slide and I fell off and I broke my arm. Okay. So this whole area is prone for you. And I think after that, you were quite large. And so you may be having a lot of dreams or past life regressions, or if you're tapping with your Akashic Record guide who holds your past life information, they may be, it's almost like you're having past life flashbacks to someone who was very wide, okay, a very large, like 250 plus individual. And that was you. You're not looking at someone else. That was actually you. I think what you're trying to do at this point in your life is to make peace with that passing and come to terms with what you didn't get to finish. It's almost like I didn't get to go home. You weren't one of these people who went off to battle and was like kind of out of your mind and disassociated with it, or arrogant with it. It wasn't like you weren't this wild, crazy person. You were actually a family man, and you were very good at what you did, but you were leading the troops, you could say. So you were a leader, you were in a leadership position. And you may have also been dealing, and you may be right now dealing with survivor's guilt, trouble letting people in your life now currently learn through their own experiences, fall on their own face, suffer the consequences of their own actions, allowing karma to play out for people in situations. When you have survivor's guilt, because you were responsible for these soldiers under you, and you felt responsible also to get back home to your family and caretake, after them, it could expand out in this current life into everyone. So you could have a bit of trouble overreaching with all people, okay, not just family and friends. And this was a situation also where it dragged out a little bit. Like, you were found because you were of tremendous value. They found you, they tried to stitch it up. I do think it became an infection and what would have been a systemic issue. What's that word for, like, almost like blood poisoning or sepsis or something, I'm hearing. Anyways, you could also just want to be careful, okay, at this point, that you're protecting your immune system and watching out for any cuts, bruises, infections, and things like that. And this is a time for you to, I would, if I were you, hold a ceremony, light a white candle, and thank yourself for all the amazing things that you were able to do during that time. You were on the right side of the battle. And you need to remember that in this life you are safe, and that other people are not an extension of you, but that you are still brave, and that you did really well. Okay. But there's this feeling of like always watching your back, like paranoid, like I got to watch behind me. Something's going to come up from behind me, because that's exactly how it happened. I mean, this guy coming up on you, like, it did not make a peep. All right, let's move on to Deanna Marie. Deanna Marie, and it looks like there is no specific question here, so we're just going to go ahead and run with it. Deanna Marie, past life influence on her now. You you seem to be disinterested. I have a past life here where you were disinterested in, feels like, getting married. You have a dog with you, and you had a bunch of other dogs back, like, at the house, on the land, on the, it almost feels kind of like a farm, but I think it's really just a lot of land, and kind of, it feels like at that point, like, everyone may have had a farm, so to speak, what we would think of today as a farm, but it was really like you just grew your own food and you had a bunch of hay and you had a bunch of meat and, like, what, everybody did it. So I feel like I'm in, I want to say, like, I feel like I'm in Ireland, maybe Scotland. It feels more like Ireland though. It feels like you would have been a younger girl who didn't want to have anything to do with marriage and commitment. And you really, it's not that you didn't want to leave home. You did want to go places, but you wanted to travel and you wanted to do it on your own terms. You seem book smart. You didn't maybe want to learn a lot, but you did enjoy reading certain, whether it be like fantasy books, but like writing fantasy, maybe even some poetry, but it's like, storytelling, entertainment. You lived a sort of fairy tale lifestyle where when you were supposed to be doing work for the family, you would escape, like, off to the woods, and you would always have this dog with you. So you may have, at this point in your life, dog as a totem animal. This can also be symbolic of loyalty. So you may be checking to see where situations and people are being loyal to you right now and where they're not, and they need to be cut. Okay. But you are looking to, right now in your life, kind of pull away and spend more personal time, personal space, just with, like, you and the dog. Okay. Or you and your pet. You really don't want to be bothered by people and societal expectations and demands. What you are doing that's really interesting to me in this image is you're staring and you're sort of judging. You're Esmeralda Marie. Look at her taking this whole table down. I understand. It's winter. I didn't make the rules. I know. We need to move out to California. That's the problem. I love you. You want to get high? Let's do this. She loves her catnip. So I think what's really interesting about this image is that you are watching. It's like you're back in the woods a ways. You're kind of in like an open fieldy patch of the woods. You got the dog at your side, dog's doing his thing, and you are watching the family and passing judgment. You're observing and you are taking notes on how they move, what happens with their interactions with one another, especially when there's conflict, when they realize that you're gone, when they realize that you didn't do something you were supposed to do, how they handle that, how it got pushed onto your brother. You have two brothers here. So you may literally have like two siblings in this life that are, a similar dynamic here, pushing responsibilities off onto others. You're quite sneaky about it, but the observant nature, the note taking here is so incredibly accurate. Your judgment on how people behave and what you can get away with adds to your, I'm hearing, just a keen sense of discernment. Now, what you're working on right now, then, also in this life, is being less interactive, less absorbent of others around you, and being more of an observer. You are figuring out essentially how to manipulate a system that is undoubtedly, as soon as it can, going to try to entrap you in something you don't want to be involved in. And for you right now in your current life, this could be financial, resource related, career, the government, Back then, it was that you were going to hit a certain age very soon and you were going to need to get married. You also didn't want to do any of that work. You know, you really just wanted to go off and be a traveler and a writer and do other things. So you're fighting for your ability to be creative also at this point in your life and to not be stifled in that. Because who wants to like rake hay into a square for 3 hours? You know, it was like, you just weren't doing any of this. You were very rebellious. It's funny too, though, because your dad lets you get away with everything. Like there's never really any punishment here. Maybe extra work added on. Esmeralda Marie, stop that. Cuckoo. Hey, Ezzy, cut it out. If she could pull this computer system down, this mic, and like she will. Look at her pulling on this tablecloth. All right. This is my life. You should see me trying to eat or do anything, okay, with her around lately. She wants to go outside and play is what it is. But when I open the door, she doesn't want to because it's 30 degrees, not 70. And that's a big wake-up call for a little baby. All right. Let's move on to another one. Ayana. Ayana, and I do not see a question here. All right. Ayana, past life reading. What past lives are affecting Ayana? Okay. You are coming through as a male, and you look pretty tall. You know, so you may almost have like the little dog complex, or what do they say about Chihuahuas? Chihuahuas think they're bigger, right? Like you in this life, you're not very big, but you may at this stage in your life think you are. So he was actually quite tall, and you were screaming or shouting through what looks almost like a megaphone, or it would be the equivalent of what is a megaphone today. You're making announcements and you're telling people what they need to do. You appear to be working for, I guess it would be the equivalent of like the government, the local government at that time. It also has a journalistic feel to it. So you would have been announcing things. These feel like announcements about maybe warnings. They also feel like prayer. I feel like I'm in Morocco, like around that area. So it could have been when it's time to pray, or when it's time to pack things up. You know, when something is opening, what is the curfew? And there does seem to be some strict rules. I mean, this is very orderly. So it's like you're letting everyone know. You also seem to at times be giving out warnings, like letting people know this is your final warning, da 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 da. If such and such a thing doesn't happen, good luck, you know. And I don't think you were in charge of implementing very much beyond that, like a penalty or a punishment. But sometimes you could step in that position almost like a cop. And it could have created a situation where you weren't very well liked. You were somewhat admired because you had a position of power, but you had the kind of power that people in the media have. You have the kind of power that maybe an actor has or a performer has, you know, not necessarily someone in a literal power position until you took on any of those cop roles, and then you really weren't liked. You may have also been responsible for organizing people who delivered like fees, taxes, bills, tax collector type of ideas. And you weren't very well liked for that either. It could have created a discord where you did not ever get to feel connected with the people. You always felt a bit different, outcasted, but you had a good heart. I think what you're trying to do at this stage in your life is reconnect with the community. You're trying to, on a universal scale, an international scale, reach people, help people, communicate with people, and touch people's hearts and lives. And it's going to require a more humble position than that. You seem very willing to do whatever it takes at this stage in your life to build that connection. It's like a hunger. It's almost like a starvation, honestly. You're trying to succumb to it and admit that it's there and that the sense of isolation is something intolerable for you at this point. And the only way to fix it is to give that good karma back out, to give that healing out, to pay the wellness, the good fortune, forward. I think it's going to be easy for you, but I would not be surprised if sometimes you're not feeling well received by certain types of people. And those would probably be people who are broken in some way or broke, but also who were trying to, like I'm hearing, outskirt the system. They were trying to not pay their bills. Maybe they had the money and they just didn't want to pay their bills. You know what I mean? Maybe they're hustling in some way. So people may pass judgment on you. You're showing up clean with the high vibration, but they're hustling. So don't take it personally and be careful. They may try to come in close and knock you down. I think that this can bring you a lot of peace, but it may take a while. Okay. So give it a few years and just continuously show up for it. I think also just knowing that there was nothing wrong with you. There was nothing wrong with you as a person, but it was a harsh system that you were part of. Thank you so much for the hearts on TikTok. I love you guys. If everyone could please give this video a thumbs up. Hit that hype button if you're here on YouTube. Drop a comment of any kind. It really does help me out in the algorithm. I would especially like to know how you feel about the show, if you want to see it in the 2026 lineup, and where you are tuning in from. Okay. Also, please share. And if you need to book a past life reading with me, it is up on my website anytime. All right, let's move on to another one. Melissa Subia, and she did not ask a specific question. All right, so Melissa Subia, what past life or past lives are affecting you now? I feel immediately like my throat chakra is shutting down. And I have a chain around my left ankle, a literal chain, not like an emotional or figurative energetic chain, a literal chain. And there's a dog who just bit me. This dog is nasty and mean and is vicious and possibly hit on occasion with a stick on its back and is starving to a degree. So you're kind of lucky you didn't get like eaten, honestly. But you hate this thing. I'm going to have to fix TikTok. I'm going to yell while I fix it. It pops up a puzzle that I have to do, or it thinks I'm a robot. So I don't know what the point is. Ultimately, what's going on in this scene is that you would have been, I don't think you're any type of a, hey, mama, you look so pretty. Her drugs are kicking in. You could tell. You would have been not a slave of any kind, but you were sort of, I almost want to say like a slave to poverty. You may have stolen a lot. Actually, you got away with it a lot. But you may have stolen, food and other things that you needed. And at some point you did get busted and you were doing some time. Okay. So you're basically in prison is what this looks like. It's a situation where in this current life, you are having to be careful for a victimhood mentality, because a lot of the stuff you stole, you didn't have to steal. You could have gone without, waited a little longer, gotten it in another way. You could have. You could have also asked for help. You could have got into a more community-oriented situation, where there was more trading going on, bartering going on. You like to do things your way. That's the bottom line, and there are repercussions for that. Now, the system itself is broken. You should not have been that poor. That's valid. But you also could have made some better choices. So we need to own that. And this stupid dog that is biting your ankle and seriously concerning you, that you know, while your prison time was not going to be that long, this wound may be, you know, what happens when it gets infected? Um, you know, he's biting on the same leg where you have this chain. So you have big concerns, and it was a huge wake-up call for you. Like, how can I make better decisions in the future? You got out and you're fine, but I would watch that part of your body around this time. Okay. Like I've said to some other people tonight, we can be, and I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but accident prone to things happening with that part of the body. If we had an injury there. So the left ankle, foot, the whole left leg, really. And watch out for dogs at this time, hungry dogs, annoying dogs, obnoxious dogs, whatever, angry dogs. The image of the dog, though, is also a symbol of loyalty. So you could also be evaluating, come on up. You could also be evaluating loyalty at this time in your life. Who and what is loyal to you and what needs to be cut. Anything that was on the chop block is probably going to go at this time. And that's up to you. But, you know, some of it could be removed. Some of it is going to be you cutting it loose finally. And I think ultimately the big lesson here, because there were 3 other lives that led up to that one that I'm talking about. What could be happening for you now is that you are really working very hard to take responsibility, hold yourself accountable, and never have a victimhood mentality about things. And when you need something or you're short on resources, instead of looking outside of you to take or get or ask or beg, you know, or hustle or manipulate or hope you're rescued, you're going inside. You're being more introspective and you're mastering that skill. Everything is available to me. Let me go inside myself and see what tools, what skills are untapped. You know, what more can I develop? What more can I do? Asking for the universe, spirit, your higher mind to give you the answers and the solution. Maybe waiting for it to come to you in a dream. You know, and this is just a little bit of a message for anyone who may be struggling with resources, or you have a problem and you're waiting on a solution. You're not sure what the best solution is. You know, I have been doing this a lot lately, and it's been coming real fast, where I just ask spirit to show me and I wait for it to come in a dream. And then it's like, there's the answer. I didn't even think of that, you know? So there are plenty of things that you could do. And you are getting rid of once and for all, I hope, a feeling of being disempowered, even though technically, yes, you were cheated by the system. Okay, but you could still take the high road and get power back. You got out and you were fine ultimately, but it was a bit of an ass whooping, that's for sure. All right, Vanessa Dempsey. And I don't see a question here, so we're just going to go ahead and do a general read. Vanessa Dempsey, past life readings affecting you. I feel like I'm in the 50s. I have a guy in a tie and a beige suit going off to, this feels like New York City. Maybe Pittsburgh? I think this is New York. Maybe you traveled. You may have done some travel for work. There's talk of Chicago. What is going on here? Anyways, you worked in a situation. So I see you as a male in a suit. The fact that it's coming up as very beige can mean that you didn't have a whole lot of personality about you. It's not that it wasn't there, but you weren't expressing it. You weren't really allowed to express it. Not in this job, not in this career, not with these responsibilities. You were married. It feels like 3 kids, 2 of the same, 1 of different. So 2 boys, 1 girl. You didn't feel very connected to your wife. You didn't feel very connected to your kids. You did feel connected to the girl. So if you have children in this life, and or you could have relived this and be reliving it right now, where maybe you felt either neglected, you know, but there was one sibling that the parents connected to, or you may be feeling that with your kids, something to that tune. But you really didn't want to be home because they were all there. You really didn't want to be at work because you didn't like your job. You didn't mind traveling, but what you really wanted to be doing was something that ignited your soul. You know, you had a lot of interest in politics. You had a lot of interest in, I'm just hearing like community engagement. You know, you had a desire to even get involved in maybe the legal field at some point. But this feels more like a finance type situation, like a more mainstream type of job. And I think you spent too many years giving in to what your family and society, capitalism expected of you. And by the time you realized you were going in the wrong direction with that, you were locked in. Okay, so a lot of people do this and they can't get out. I think what is happening for you now is that you're trying to wear, and this can help a lot, actually. You may be trying to change the way you look. I'm changing my hair. I'm changing my body. I'm wearing more colorful clothing. I'm expressing myself. I'm getting a nose ring. I don't care what I'm putting on different color eyeshadow. I'm doing my nails red. You know, it's like, how can you express yourself through your body, your attire, your accessories? How can you communicate out your artistic twist and personality, right? And shine. And so if you've been unhappy with your wardrobe or feeling like I'm a little dumpy looking, you know, maybe just a little vague, this may be it. If you've never done it, this is the time certainly to do it. It's blessed, okay, by the universe right now for you to do this. But bigger than that is being very careful that you don't obligate yourself to a bunch of junk you don't want to get involved in right now, okay? People, places, family dynamics, just don't commit. Be very careful with the contracts you're signing, the agreements you're making verbally and otherwise. And try to tap in to the strengths you know you have, but have imposter syndrome with, or you're very hesitant to let that part of your personality out, or you don't think you can succeed in it or make money off of it. Thank you so much for the hearts on TikTok. I love you guys. You know, what can you do to step out in blind faith and start being more authentic with what you came here to do and say, okay? Again, with that feeling of like, okay, you know, I'm on the plane, I'm driving, I'm commuting, I'm in this boring ass meeting. I don't care about any of this. I also don't want to go home because I don't feel connected to anyone but that one kid a little bit. You know, it's like the only stuff that was going through your head constantly was that, and you were reading about it, you were in the paper, you were watching it, was like, what is happening with politics? What is happening with international politics? What is happening in the news? You know, this is very journalistic. This is very legal. This is very, you know, policy, public policy and all of this. Where in your life right now do you need to get more involved in that, you know, as well? There's a passion there. And it really wasn't, you know, you just ended up being a guy who read the paper a lot. Didn't say much, you know. You liked your scotch. That's for sure. All right, big lessons. Everyone should be careful what we get involved in. We can get sucked into things we can't get out of so easily. So Vanessa Dempsey is the last name I have up here. Are we going to do last call? Okay, we have another one here. I don't know if we're at last call or not. Let me know, Diana. All right. So the next one up is Nature Calls You. 4645, and this is for Mark. Okay, Mark, and I don't have a question with this, so I'm just going to go ahead and give a general message. By the way, if any of you have an actual question, okay, this is just a test show. That's what's going on here tonight. I'm testing out this show, and if it gets a huge response from you guys, like the one the other night did, what blessings are coming your way, that is now added to the 2026 show lineup, okay? But if this gets a huge response out of you guys, I will add it to my 2026 show lineup. But there are two different ways to do this tonight. You can either ask a specific question about literally anything going on in your life and how it's connected to a past life, anything about past lives, or you can just leave it open like this, where you drop a donation and I will tell you what is the most important thing for you to hear at this time, how your life is being affected by your past lives. All right. So Mark, no specific question. How is his life being affected by past lives? You seem to be writing a book, and you are doing it on a typewriter that is, there's also talk of physics behind you. Physics, it's like you're this mad scientist, you're this skinny, white guy with crazy hair, kind of tufts of hair. Although I feel like you're at home. Okay. I feel like when you went out in public, you combed that thing, but I do feel like you look a little nuts. I mean, you look a little like Einstein, but not as meaty, and not as big. You're on a chalkboard, you're clearly teaching people, but you're figuring out formulas. There's something about physics. There's something about, ECM equals, I don't know what I'm looking at here, 2 over a square pi something. And then there is this whole experimentation system going on that looks like a laboratory. But what you liked the most was converting that information into books. So these could have also been journals, journals within your field. And the buttons on this typewriter are like round. Okay. And some of them are actually quite small. So some are larger, some are smaller. I don't know a ton about typewriters, but I think this was a nicer one. I feel like you put a lot of money into this, or it was shipped to you. I'm hearing from maybe it came from Sweden or Germany or something like that. You seem English though. I think that you are happy with it, but it sticks. And was a common problem with those, right? Like the ink or whatever, it would stick, the buttons would stick. And you're wanting to go faster. You are ahead of your time in the way that a lot of people, not me, but a lot of writers these days, they want to do everything in a computer, right? You wanted to go at that speed and you couldn't. So it was a little frustrating for you. It was like your mind was moving faster than your body could, or the world around you could take it. So you would multitask. You may have at this stage in your life a little ADD-like tendencies. I can't prescribe or diagnose, and maybe you are neurodivergent, but you could jump from one thing to another, to another, to another, to another, to keep that dopamine going, to keep your interest held. You may have a lot of Gemini in your chart somewhere, and you are trying real hard to keep up with all of your ideas in a way that keeps you interested enough to finish and complete them. One of the things you may be dealing with in this life, though, is a lack of completion on things. So you could be struggling to start on projects that aren't automatically going to pay you. And you could be struggling to complete tasks and projects that you kind of really wanted to do, but you're not staying focused enough. I think that the information you're giving out here through this typewriter is helping people a lot. And it's helping thoughtful circles. It's like people who get together and intellectualize and philosophize and look at science and the progression of ideas, pattern recognition. What can it become? Being innovative, problem solvers, right? How can we create a better life and I'm hearing even the economy, but it's like a better world. So creating systems and tools that can also help us. It's not just all internal human stuff. Some of it's bigger than that. It's like, this was your forte. This is who you wanted to be around. And in this life, you may be feeling a bit isolated from that. Like you're not yourself. You're not really like amongst your people. And it could be because there's a shortage of those people, but I don't think that's entirely true. I just think maybe they also aren't really fully out. Again, everything today is so conventional. It's just to feed the capitalistic machine. It's so dry, it's so beige, it's such a snore, that a lot of that is missing, not because those people are missing, but because they aren't tapping into it either. So you may be kind of leading that, not trying to lead others, but just by living your own life authentically. So if there's anything you've been wanting to write, research, investigate, spend time in the lab, so to speak, with, this is the time to do so. And this could also be other forms of publishing. So it could be publishing like hard copy, including storytelling in some way. But this could be podcasts, this could be online, this could be you teaching, leading, communicating, talking to groups, or just having more intellectual stimulation and conversations with free thinkers. It's refreshing, and it's where you need to be right now. It's where you'll be for about 5 years. But then that activity really starts to pay out between 5 and 8 years. Yes, Esmeralda Marie, I love you. Shh, I'm getting dirty looks over here. You want to come up? You okay? I know, we're so bored. I know, Mama. Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to another one. Tanya Rivera. I love seeing another Rivera. Tanya Rivera, and I don't have a question. So we're just going to go with whatever is coming up. Past life influences for Tanya Rivera currently. I know, Mama. There's some talk here of the left leg, and I want to say some circumstances potentially holding you back. I'm seeing you in a past life where you may have done healing work on people who had, I want to say it almost looks like the plague or some type of fever. And everyone seems to be in like linen. It either looks like they're wearing linen or they're wearing what almost looks like burlap sacks. I mean, I don't know what else I'm supposed to. These are very uncomfortable looking clothes. I mean, these are not, even the sheets were not great. I think that it was a hard time, especially for a healer like you who had, medical training. You appear to be a high up nurse. Like basically you would come in place of a doctor, a physician, or work hand in hand with them. You would have done surgeries just as well as a doctor. Sometimes you had to do amputations. Sometimes you were helping, it almost feels like soldiers or war. You would have been helping them. But the point I'm looking at right now is some type of a disease that was spreading, and you would have put yourself on the front lines to help these people, and it eventually caught up with you, and it ran systemically through you. It feels like it's creating almost like you would have had some kind of pain. It feels like maybe an artery from the heart or something, but it goes down also through the lymph, I guess the lymph nodes. So the left inner like thigh. So, some of the things you may be watching for right now, and again, I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but is like the reproductive system or the inside of the thighs. And then it would have gone sort of down the leg. And so it felt like it was high fever. And then immediately this was swelling and you were immobile. And it was basically an infection. I mean, essentially. And I think that the dissatisfaction in the end, because this did ultimately take you out, the dissatisfaction in the end of how it's almost like displeasing it was for you to not get the same kind of care that you gave. I can't even express how pissed you were. You went immediately. There was no moment of like, I'm sad. I hope, I wish somebody would come. You were just immediately pissed off. You were just immediately full of righteous rage for the fact that it's almost like you're raging against the illness, the virus, the disease, whatever it was. It's like you're mad at that, but you're also mad at the people because let's face it, when you're sick, nobody wanted to come near you, yet you put yourself out there. I think the point here is this, and it would have only taken about 2 days. So it's not like you were laying there for weeks and weeks, but it was 2 days of what felt like isolation, a lack of return on your efforts, and just being generally pissed off at disease, right? Or the human condition, or a lack of medicine, or, I think that one of the things you may be looking at in this life at this time, and for you, it doesn't even really go just now. This is a 30-year span for you. So this is probably the majority of your life. You may be here as a tremendous healer, but you don't want to do it in the conventional way. And you want to make sure this time you're getting paid. And that isn't selfish. That is self-preservation, let's say. And I think you need to admit to it if you're struggling to. So if you're like, oh, I can give and give and give. No, you can't. You're not supposed to be doing that. Somebody else with karma where they never gave in the past can do that. That's not your story this time, okay? You already did that. Dead, done, over with. Leave the past in the past. Admit that you deserve pay and take it in whatever form it is that you want it. Make sure you're getting it. Have those contracts in place, okay? Never do a job without some type of contract. I think that what you're doing with the healing abilities you have now is giving it out on a more intentional level or a more productive, higher vibrational level. It could involve the way people think and their chakras. It could involve quantum healing. It could be anything essentially where they're in a position to get the healing, receive the tools, apply them, and then go give it out to others. You are unwilling at this point to give, and you should be. You should be. This is the point. You should be unwilling to give to anyone who isn't going to pay it forward. No free passes this time. Okay. And if you feel that you are sometimes very angry at systems like the medical field, for example, where they're not doing their best. Let's take the American for-profit medical system, if you can even call it that. I think they're all drug dealers, okay? It's an entrapment system. But let's say you're looking at medical systems or the science field or, the cost of medicine or whatever it is, and you feel yourself getting really or even psychology, you're getting enraged by that. That is a call to action, not for the whole field, but for that specific thing you're irked by, that you need to dive deep and you need to figure out what your healing modality is to counteract that toxicity and then give it out to the world. But again, only to the people you're supposed to be giving it to. Okay. It's all about balance for you. All right. Abby Hicks Tweety Designs is a new member. Thank you, Abby. If I missed anyone else, I'm sorry about that. I haven't really been looking at the screen very much. All right, we already did. There we go. All right, so we have Nature Calls You, another one. This is for Mindy, Georgie Ann. And I do not have a question with this one either. All right, so Mindy, Georgie Ann. Mindy, past lives or a past life affecting Mindy. Huh. Yeah, there it is. Did you guys hear that? There it is. All right. So you are a male. You are full of energy. You may have been labeled as being maybe a little bit slow mentally. Like people treated you a little bit like Forrest Gump, but you weren't. I mean, you thought differently, but you weren't slow. If anything, you were too fast. I have too many thoughts going on here. That can look the same, like a disorganization, but you seem to just have a lot of energy, a lot of thoughts, a lot of love to give. And I see you running up to what looks like a hill or something you could sort of hide behind and looking down at what feels like the town or a portion of the town. I'm getting grease. And you seem to be getting hit. Someone has struck you. Maybe this was like a baton in the neck and the face and the jaw. And I don't know if you guys could hear that, but like my jaw popped. So one of the things we want to be careful of right now in your life, and I can't prescribe a diagnosis, but is the jaw, grinding of the teeth, tension in the jaw, the teeth themselves, in particular, the molars. Now I'm on the left side. If you're noticing it on the right, take it out, resonates. But especially the lower, but even a bit in the upper back. And then we're talking the neck and the face, okay? Possibly even swelling around the eyes, the head, anything through here, the ear, the neck, okay? I think that you were put in a position where you were treated like, it's almost like getting treated like the town idiot. I have what appears to be a cop hitting you with like a baton because you were in town and you were asking what looks like a shop owner or vendors who are there. I mean, some are in buildings and some are out on the street, or they're out on the street and the product out on the street came from the inside of the building, whatever it is, right? It's like a village. There's a lot going on there. It's like a main street. And all you're really doing is inquiring. You're asking. You may not have had everything you needed. You may have been short on resources because of this stigma attached to you that you would like low IQ. So you weren't able to work, even though you had plenty of energy, plenty of power, You weren't able to work. You didn't get jobs in the same way. The jobs you got weren't consistent. And in all fairness, the consistent jobs that you did get, sometimes you didn't show up to, either on time or whatever. You did struggle a bit mentally, a little bit. But you didn't deserve that treatment. It was quite brutal. It was one swack, you weren't beaten to death or anything horrible, but it was enough that it turned into a long-term problem for you. And you may have been sensitive your whole life to this area being affected, whether it be ear infections, throat infections, thyroid. I mean, really anything through here. Okay. And the fact that you were just inquiring about information or the product or whether or not they may have extra, you shouldn't have been penalized for it. Like you were a flea, like just treated like dirt, you didn't want to steal. You had a really high sense of morality, a moral compass, an ethical code of conduct, which again feels a little to me like neurodivergence or maybe on the spectrum, right? There's a lot of morality there. And that was the mistake. Maybe you should have stolen it, Anyways, in this life, what you're trying to deal with is feeling that you can really speak your truth, be authentically yourself, and be well received. Receive back the love that you deserve, receive the recognition that you deserve, receive the payment that you deserve. Now, you may struggle in this area and have shortchanged yourself. You may also struggle in this area and overdo it, like workaholism, overreaching with people, feeling like you have to earn other people's respect, love, attention, affection. And you may be also dealing currently with letting go of paranoia that you will be punished, that you are bad or you did something wrong, that you're not good enough in some way, maybe even like mentally, or that you don't have skills, but also that your resources may not be there, that the foundation under you could be pulled out. And you may be going through a period of time where you're paranoid about health, maybe for yourself, but possibly also for others around you, like helicoptering over everyone else's health or being paranoid about almost like hypochondria, what could happen with my health? Because this was such a problem and it was such a slow growing issue. It consumed a lot of your time and energy, no doubt. You may also really hate authority for the sake of power. Like you may be a total rebel about it. And you may be reconsidering, like maybe there are better ways to do things than being totally authentic, like keeping your cards close to your vest, you know. I think of the time when I was homeless, and I was homeless for a really long time, actually, like my whole teenagehood. Um, I had to do things to get what I needed. And I reached a point where I was like, if it's not going to work out, I won't ever like steal from an individual, but I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And I did it to survive. And I got real good at it. I had to do what I had to do to survive. And I don't have guilt about that because there was no other help that I could have gotten access to. But sometimes people do, and they end up in far, far worse conditions. So sometimes you just have to choose yourself and pick your battles, do what needs to be done. So you may be getting more cutthroat about that and being like, I have no guilt about this whatsoever. It is what it is. I'm doing for me. I'm doing me. All right, let's move on to another one. We have Julie Reynolds, 8722. Julie Reynolds, 8722. Question for Jay Spatz. Okay, so I think this is still a question for you. Okay, so we'll go with Jay Spatz. All right, here's a question. This is one way you guys can do this. Love it. It's our first question. Do I have any spiritual abilities from past lives that are manifesting in my current incarnation? All right, so Jay Spatz, past lives with spiritual abilities that she can use now. Is that going on? I get 3 different things, but they're very different. Verona? I don't even know what that is. I get one where you were a bit of a gypsy traveler type. You may have done this with a male. So I see you with a father, I believe this is. And you may have, it's almost like giving out healing remedies. It's like herbs and oils and what looks like bottles of water with flowers and things in them that people would like drink, like potions, and it feels very much like the gypsy tavern idea where it's like medicine on wheels. You're this traveling distributor of these things, but it's not snake oil. These were literal healing remedies that had been handed down to you, and you had done a lot of research. So you were sort of like a scientist or like just a different form of a doctor. Like you were a holistic healer. You did understand food as medicine. You did understand the power of herbs and roots in particular. And your preference was always for oils. But you did really good, and you got kind of infamous for things that people would drink, like these waters, these containers of water with like flowers and different, I don't know what you put in there, right? And you may have also made some poisons. So if someone was being like battered by their husband, it was, let's get rid of him. Put a dose of this in his stewed night, and he's dead as a doornail, right? So you helped people with health issues, energetic issues, imbalances. I'm hearing. The first thing I actually saw though was pregnancy. So whether it be pregnancies that were getting lost, like somebody was miscarrying repeatedly, or they were worried about a pregnancy, or they didn't want to be pregnant anymore. There's a lot of that going on. There was, I want to say mostly that going on. And so it was women finding you. And then it was also this, if someone needed to be rubbed out. And I think you got to live the lifestyle that you really wanted. At times, you would debate, like, do I want to get married and settle down? And it was kind of like, I don't know. I don't think so. So you would just keep going and going. And there was always a new adventure. But you had a route. People knew when you would be coming through or where to find you. Then there was another one where you look very, very dark to me. This looks African. I see you working with bones. I see you working with something else that's white that almost looks like runes to me. And wrapping what looks like maybe, I don't know if this is a chicken, it may be more like a rooster or some kind of bird, wrapping its feet. There was blood. There were other things that you were using. You were using a lot of tools, but these are different tools. You do have a head wrap on and some blue. You liked a lot of blue and green. You had almost like uniforms that you would wear to work. People would come to you. It feels almost like you have a hut, sort of, and people would come to you. But you were also in town. So in this scene where you are this very dark African woman, you are also highly respected and no one gave you a crooked eye or a second glance. This was just part of the culture, and you were out. You weren't traveling about to avoid problems. You were out. You were stationed like in the village. Okay. And there were other people selling other things, fruit and whatnot. Well, it was normal. You were very good at what you did. That involved spell casting. It involved the ancestors. It involved the more spiritual aspect of things. Psychic ability. But you were doing basically the same thing. If a woman was being beaten, you would get rid of her husband. You would do, it almost has a bit of a voodoo feel to it. Yeah. And then there's another one that's very different from those, where you seem to be in the medical field, but you are bringing into the medical field this more holistic, energetic, spiritual aspect. So you're helping your patients to like cross. So this is like death coaching, helping people to recover and go from illness to health, or lack of mobility to mobility, right? Life to death, whatever it is, you're helping people to cross from one way of living into another. It's transmutation, it's alchemy, and you are using traditional medicine, and you wouldn't dare talk about anything spiritual like openly. You would have been burned at the stake. So, but you had a way of doing it with them, and they loved you for it, and they needed it, and they were receiving it. So it was actually incredibly fulfilling for you. So yes. And I think that you could tap into any and all of these in this current life. In this life, though, it may look more like crystals, Reiki, tarot cards, psychic readings where you occasionally channel spirit. That would probably be the easiest route to go. All right. Working again primarily with women who are being beaten by their husbands and and getting them out. The women's revolution. Yep, you're right on time. You're back. You are back. All right, sister. Love it. Bethany Renner, 5810. What past life connection do my Uncle Larry and I have in this life? Okay. Bethany Renner. Hold on. I just want to. Okay. Bethany Renner and Uncle Larry. What past life connection? You were siblings. I want to say older sister, younger brother. So you were siblings, but I want to reverse the genders. Okay. So it feels like he was your older sister. You were his younger brother. And there could be a lot of like laughing involved, like in this life. It almost feels like sharing a brain. It's really interesting when you can finish someone else's sentences and you know what they're thinking and feeling, and whatever they have going on in your life, you have going on in your life, not identical. And obviously with one person being your uncle and you being a different, you know what I mean, gender and all that, it's never identical stuff, but it kind of is, it's like they're going through this situation, and the lessons and the growth and the detail are literally the same as your lessons and growth and detail. At the base of this relationship is laughter, support, enthusiasm, joy. I'm hearing enlivenment. Is that even a word? It helps you guys to bounce the energy back and forth between you and liven yourselves up, which allows for greater insight, more connection to divinity, to do things that need to be done more courageously and in divine timing, because you're checking each other. It's a checks and balances is what a system like that really is with another human being. It's very, very fascinating. I am addicted to those types of bonds with people. I think that what you guys were was very caretaking, but in a very different way, where because he was the older sister and you were the younger brother, you were kind of pampered a lot, and you were kind of treated like a baby, even when you weren't, and so kind of crippled out because of that in some ways. He acted almost like your mom. An older sister can sometimes, because there was a bit of an age gap there, can kind of become almost like another mother. But it was fun. It was entertaining. It was like you were to him like his little pet, his little toy. If she wanted to pretend that she was a teacher at school, you would be the student. There was constant storytelling and game playing, right? So in a lot of ways, it was like you guys were equals because it was so supportive, and you got really smart because of that. When you deal with people that are older than you and they really authentically engage and enjoy your company, you mature a lot faster and learn how to manipulate, the world in a very different way. And there's a sense here of reversal on that, though. So in this life, you may feel a desire to caretake over him. Yeah, interesting. Lots of fun. Love that. Okay, let's move on to another one. You guys are, filling this show up. I am so grateful. I mean, the way this is going so far, I'm thinking I may add this. We'll see how it goes once it publishes, but I may add this to the lineup. So again, if this is a show you want to see me consistently do, thank you so much for the hearts on TikTok. I love you guys. Please give this some feedback. Give it a thumbs up. Drop a comment of any kind. Share it. Hit that hype button. Let's keep it going. And again, if you need to book one of these for yourself, you want to do privately, it's up on my website. You can do it anytime or gift it to someone else. Julie Reynolds says, thank you. That felt very aquatofana. Can't say I'll ever tap into poisoning in this lifetime, but still fascinating. Yeah, there are other ways to do it in this lifetime. You'll figure it out, I'm sure. All right, have fun with it. We need more healers stepping up for sure. All right. And we had another one coming in here, but I didn't grab it. And I think it was for Kim. Okay. Oh, Love and Beloved 5497 says, thank you, Ivy. Exactly on with my current body healing I'm doing. That was very helpful for body and mind healing. Oh, there you go. Okay. Beautiful. And then we have Kim Dennison. Yeah, so much of my past life readings anyways are based on the work, the healing, seeing the bigger picture, letting go of things, detoxing, whatever needs to be done, and tapping into the power that you had then, because again, that transfers. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can tap in to all the skills that we had. Kim Dennison 4340 says, my dad and I had matching red birthmarks on our backs in the same place. Is it past life related? Let me see what happened here. It does feel like it's past life related. This is a little disturbing, but I'm seeing the Holocaust, and I don't know if you're, Jewish in this life, but you may have like an affinity you may want to know and support, and you may have a sort of revolutionary attitude, especially in regards to, social justice and civil rights and equality and religion. You may be very sensitive to religious organizations. Okay. Eugenics and things like this. You may be like just hypersensitive to things like that, really not liking systems, any systems, really. You may hate systems, where there's too much power, the potential for any type of authoritarianism. But that's what it looks like to me, is like you guys may have been, and it feels like a parent and a child. So I feel like mom and daughter. Trying to see who is who. I think your mom and he's daughter. Okay, so let me write that down. Your mom. Okay, he's daughter. Very small, very, very young. 5, maybe? You are also young. There may have been 2 other children. I'm not sure what happened to them. But you may feel like one of the things that you're dealing with in this life is paranoia about being separated, departed. I keep hearing departed from my children, departed from my children. You may have a lot of anxiety surrounding your kids, or a desire to helicopter over them, or just make sure that nothing happens to them, wherever they are. It may not even be like you necessarily feel like you have to be with them 24/7, but you just worry about what may happen. And you may have been tested in this area again in this life. Like, you may have to experience, your children sometimes going through difficulties that are very triggering for you, and you can't intervene or, always intercede or fix it in the way that you would like to. So you are in this life figuring out other ways, and that is something you are learning to do while remaining detached enough to understand that's their journey and that's their story, right? This is what you're supposed to be working on and perfecting, so that it doesn't take you out mentally and emotionally and physically and energetically. Your kid is going through something and you can't necessarily fix it or prevent it, but you don't have to, develop tumors because of that. I mean, it's like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And you're doing well. I think you're doing well. And I think that's part of your calling here in this life. But I do think also that it's exchanged with your dad. So you guys may have to sometimes work on that relationship, on detaching, and having a healthier balance there, because ultimately, it feels like, I don't even know if I'm allowed to use this word on YouTube, but it does feel like you were ultimately murdered, and it was from behind, and it was side to side, side by side. So you were together, and it would have been done down a line in the same exact way. Okay. So you also, both of you, have to watch for lung issues, back issues, and I can't prescribe or diagnose anything from the hips up, probably to the neck. But I'm getting more on the left side a little bit, actually. Okay. So sometimes I switch my sides, take it out, resonates, but I'm getting a little higher and on the left. Now, and so you guys have a very strong bond, you and your dad, but it's almost like a trauma bond in a lot of ways. You were also very grateful to be together. So you would think that would be a moment of horror. And while it was in its own way, it was also a gratitude that you had for each other, that at least you were together. I do think that what you're learning in this life is your relationship with other people, or right around this time, let's say. But this past life does affect you 25, ballpark 28 years, 27, 28 years at peaks. So this one spans a long time for you. Big lessons, a lot of work to do. So you get more time. I do think that what you're learning to do is work with people and, again, empower them the best that you can, while remaining detached to stay empowered yourself, and understanding every individual is on their own journey and honoring that, but also fighting and breaking down the systems of toxicity and harm and authoritarianism. Okay. So don't be surprised if at this point in your life you're really feeling like you want to get a megaphone and do some shouting and, you know what I mean, revolutionize even systems where like goods are sold, and when that money is going back, to like a country, or where's your tax money going? If we're harming others, you want to see that system revamped entirely into something more ethical. And you may also choose not to engage in those systems. Interesting. Okay. So we're going to move on to another one. So yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You guys were together. Abby Hicks. That's something else. And that hasn't come up yet tonight until she just asked that, but we are reborn with the same people over and over and over again, so the likelihood of you having everyone in your life and it's like brand new relationships is like, I've never actually seen it. I don't believe it happens. You can have a couple here and there, but typically we're reborn with the same people. So we have different contracts, and obviously we switch up genders and race and countries, and, the roles will change. but the lessons are the same. And it's often karmic in the way that it's like pay it forward, pay it back, balance it out, whatever it is. And often in these situations, you can look like the other person or have the same birthmarks. I'm not saying you have to be biologically related at all, but it's like the same birthmarks, the same weird life stories, the same physical history, and looking the same, for sure. Thank you so much for the hearts on TikTok. Let's move on to another one. Kim Dennison says, I have descendants from Poland, and I always unexplainably speak some Yiddish. Beautiful reading. Thank you. Oh, it's going to make me cry. I struggle with that one. The Holocaust is, let's move on. That's tough. All right. Thank you for that confirmation. All right, Abby Hicks, Tweety D Designs, looking forward to a reading in person someday. Yes, you should, and you can come here to the haunted house to get a reading. You can catch me at an event as well, but I do work internationally over the phone, so you can also just book that anytime. Looking forward to meeting you, Abby. And we have another one coming in here for Hazel, Miami Heat, aka Miami Heat 305-ish. Okay, and I don't see a question here, so I'm just going to give whatever is coming through. All right, Hazel. Past life reading for Hazel. You seem to be silenced. I have you getting silenced, and I'm hearing up from behind. There could have been a situation where people came in and sort of ransacked the town. I'm seeing what looks more like almost like huts. Like I'm seeing mud and hay or straw, something. I don't know, but these are like huts. And you're pretty dark. This has a Latino feel to it. And the climate is very warm. It's very warm. So like South America, you are younger than them and therefore smaller than them. You look like maybe 12-ish, 14, and they would have come in to ransack the town, steal things, unfortunately physically attack people, and all the horrible things, atrocities. But it's like you did see it coming psychically, but you didn't see it coming literally, even though you heard some weird things from a distance. You heard some activity and you knew something was coming, but you really didn't have anywhere to go. So it was sort of like, oh shit, I'm going to wait for this to hit. But it didn't hit the way you thought it would. Maybe you thought it would come from in front or the one side of the hut, but it didn't. It came from behind you. So what does that mean? Basically, in this life or around this time, you may be paranoid about things coming up from behind. You may not like people standing behind you. You may have developed eyes in the back of your head. You may feel very much like you always have to sort of watch your back, or you like to sit up against the wall, stay away from windows. You may sleep with your back up against a wall, preferably, or you can only sleep if your back is up against a wall. I did this for many, many, many years. And so it made it hard to sleep in a bedroom because beds are typically put in the middle, and I just couldn't until my past life stuff was done. So whatever, you want to work with that, but you don't want to also have like your bed facing a door or, things like this. There is, and you could have trouble, say you're in a relationship, if your lover wants to like be behind you or snuggle and be like, that could be a real anxiety point, a trigger point. I think that people in the backseat of the car, I don't know, whatever, spirit's going on and on and on about this. Okay. Just watch for your triggers, in your hot spots. But I think it didn't help that there were like 3 of them. And the one wasn't going to mess with you at all because there were other more valuable things, okay, in your hut and people, but they did end up kind of ganging up on you. There was assault there. There appears to be sexual assault and physical assault. I'm sorry about that. So you may have, again, revisited that in this lifetime in the literal sense, and or had to be exposed to it a lot, or worried about it. Flashbacks, certainly. But what I thought was interesting was that they put like something over your mouth before they did that and took you backward. And that didn't happen to everybody there. And that can cause a real sensitivity to your lips, your tongue, your teeth, grinding of the teeth, the throat chakra, a feeling of frustration, like I was silenced, a rage, but that rage can go from being very sad, disheartening, despair, like what happens to victims, right into aggression and rage. Like it can be bipolar in that. And you may have struggled with this a lot around 8 years old. And again, at 14, 21. Okay. So there's 33. There are some peak times. This spans a long time for you, this one. But right now, what you're learning to do is to essentially take off the mouthpiece. And had you been able to do that, you may have been able to like scream or get away or something like that. But it was really because the mouth was covered that no one even knew that happened to you. Other people were fighting and defending, but not you. Okay. Plus, there were 3 of them. So you were outnumbered. And you may also be dealing with situations where you feel outnumbered, whether it's by society, the system, men. You are trying, most importantly, to clear your throat chakra. And I want to say, build up even more physical, like muscle, strength. Maybe you're looking into like martial arts or something like that, or going to the gym more around this time. But the best thing that you could do for yourself, because that's never foolproof, the best thing that you could do for yourself is to learn to speak your truth in areas where you feel you're being silenced or you don't have a ton of confidence, and to deal with any feelings of victimization in your life in general. And make sure that you're tapping more into that righteous anger. And I am getting a ringing in the right ear, which is clairvoyant psychic ability. Whew. I mean, the fact that you were psychic enough to know this was going to happen ahead of time, not exactly the way it did, but you knew it was coming. You knew it was going to happen. You didn't know it because it was like happening to a bunch of other communities. You just knew you were psychic, and you may have survivor's guilt in that. Like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And this is sort of a general message for everyone. I feel like, we may all be going through this collectively right now, where it's like, God damn it, I knew I had a prophecy about this. I knew it in my gut, and I didn't follow it. I didn't say enough or do enough to prevent, and now it's here. Okay, then tap into that psychic ability, that right ear ringing, that tinnitus, that clairvoyance, right? That third eye, those prophetic dreams, and take them more seriously, whether it's for your own self or giving those messages out to others. At the root of the voice, the throat, is the psychic ability. So this whole thing is very powerful, but it's a lot of hard lessons also. And just a constant feeling of like, I could have done better. I could have done better. I don't know how I allowed this to happen to me. It's like you may have that voice in your head, and you really need to calm that down. Okay. And try to make peace with that as well. This is the second one I got here tonight, where I would say you need to light a candle. Okay. And you need to release and tell yourself, your old self, that young boy, I did good. I did the best I could, and thank you for that. And thank you for the lessons. And I'm ready to let go of that. Okay. Because you did. We get so hard on ourselves when we go through something difficult. It's misplaced, TikTok, we have Tiffany on TikTok, Tiffany W. All right, so Tiffany W on TikTok says, I want to know about my current career and love life. Okay, so what is going on with Tiffany's current career and love life in regards to her past life? Let me write that down, because my brain is not... Okay, career and love life. Career and love life in regards to past life. Career is limited because of a past life. You were silenced. You were shut down. You didn't have access to education. You didn't have enough money. You were a girl. You weren't allowed. You were told no. You may have found yourself in this life being told, and you may have fallen for it, where you were told that's a boy's job. That's a man's field. Only guys do that. You know, why don't you go become a teacher? Why don't you go become a nurse? You know, why don't you play nice? I think what you're doing now is busting out. And I think you're going for something that feels more revolutionary to you, you know, in some way. And this may involve business, entrepreneurship, teaching, leading, you know, telling people what to do, bossing everybody around, networking, getting those contracts, you know, really kind of, yeah, you're the boss. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. And when we look at your love life, the past life affecting you most with your love life was a feeling of being, I heard, detached and despair and departed. You could have been pulled apart from someone, and it looks like they may have had to go off. It's like I had to go off with my family, or I wouldn't have any fortune. You may feel like you were very much in love with someone, but you weren't allowed to be together due to like status and, again, mobility. And you feel a little bit like they sold their soul, or they sold you out. You know, they could have stayed, they could have fought, but they chose, let's face it, they chose money. And a lot of people do that. You could be revisiting that in this life, where it's like, are you going to choose me or not? Basically. And I'm not saying just with this current love partner or whoever, whatever you're doing now. I'm saying in general, you could have a theme of this in this life where you're like, are you going to choose me or not? Because sometimes we find ourselves with a love partner who's just choosing some other bullshit, some low level stuff, or being lazy or afraid of growth, or they don't want to put in the effort, or they don't want to showcase that they love you because it's not the manly thing to do. You know, they're basically selling their soul. They are choosing whatever else. In tarot, a lot of times I listen to YouTube tarot readers. I'm addicted. They always call it third party. And they say, this person is not choosing you, but they're choosing a third party. Has anyone ever heard this? And when you hear it, you assume, oh, they're cheating, or they're married still, or they're choosing another lover. No, 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 no. A third party could be a bad habit. It could be an addiction. It could be just some other BS that they are feeding, right? A family system, whatever. And they're choosing that over the growth that they need to do, and the showing up, you know, the action it would take to not only, you know, get you, but to maintain you, to keep the relationship, to hold it steady. So they don't bother. And you could be fed up, like time out, I'm getting in realizing that maybe you've chosen some weak love partners, and you're like, time out, I'm just choosing me. If they're not going to choose me, I'm just going to choose me. Why even be here if you're not going to choose me? I'm not going to be eating up my cereal, sitting on my couch, hogging up my bed. You know what I mean? Get the hell out of here. So that's where it is. Okay, we'll see what you do with it. You guys can hear my stomach. I am fasting again, so it's ridiculous. But every show I've done lately, you could literally hear these growls in the background. I think I lost some weight though. I'm afraid to get on the scale because I don't want to be disappointed, but you know. Anywho, let's move on to another one. We've got Christina Mother. Oh, Christina for her mother. Okay, so I don't have the name of the mother. Thelma? Okay, I think I do. Christina Mother, a reading from my mother, if that is possible. Her name is Thelma Hernandez. Okay, for Thelma Hernandez. Thelma, reading for Thelma. Okay. Thelma Hernandez. What past life is affecting Thelma? So I'm seeing you as a large male. skinny on the bottom, big on top. You look like I don't know what the heck these are called, but there's a name for it. Looks like the guy who goes to the gym and skips a leg day. Okay. Big no. Just like huge. Anyways, I think most of it's just meat. I think you're this meaty guy. And you're coming into this room and I see you emptying out a bag of what looks like coins. These coins equate to dollars or $10 bills, or like it's a significant amount of cash. It's not like coins like we have today. So I see you emptying this bag of coins onto this table. You're sweating, you're kind of dirty, you haven't slept well in like a week, you have been stressed to no end for 3 days. You are worried that if you can't get this money to this person, that something bad is going to happen to you, to your family. And the person on the other side of the table is cocky, is calm, cool, collected, is pasty, and has like lady hands, and is just creepy, just creeps me out. I don't know, just glasses, just like a smirk, and very arrogant, just very arrogant. This person's a weasel. This person could never defend themselves against someone your size, but they hold so much power and they manipulate like the mob would, that they've got so much on you that they can kind of bully you in this way, that you are this frantic, nervous mess. In all fairness, you did owe the money. In all fairness, there was an event that occurred previous to this that put you in a position to have to owe it. Okay. But this isn't a legitimate system. This is a corrupt system. I think that you thought you had more time to pay it. And there's some kind of shenanigans going on here. Like, I don't know if you got involved in something illegal. You may have in this life been very tempted, and you have to be careful for things like drinking, drug use, gambling, cheating, getting involved in anything illegal. Like, just be careful. Just be careful. Anyhow, taking favors from people who will then be able to kind of own you, stay out of debt, the credit card companies, the government, you know what I mean? Just be careful. Even employers trapping you in systems, just be careful who you take resources from, because we can't always pay it back. And I think that you are also learning to find better ways to do things, being more efficient. So the whole reason you got entangled in some of this is because you didn't have the resources for your family that you needed. And there were some health issues going on there, and some repairs that needed to be made on the house and some other stuff. And so you could have found yourself in some systems of gambling or whatnot, or taking money where you shouldn't have. I think that what you're doing now in this life is making sure, and you may be somewhat obsessed with having a strong foundation, a lot of savings. You may almost feel like you never have enough savings. You want to have a nice trajectory at all times. You want to have multiple streams of income. You will work yourself to the bone, work yourself to the grave, and you can't take it with you, but to feel like you have that level of stability, not just for you, but for your family, like resources. And you may worry about health. And you may worry about like repairs or things that may come up in the future. At this point, I think you're alchemizing so much of this. You're kind of cool, calm, and collected, and you've got the system down, like you're pretty secure at this point, but it's still not done, or it wouldn't be coming up. So just be mindful. You may be teaching this out to other people as well. Like, here's the story I have from this situation. Here's the lesson I learned. Here's what not to do. Here's what works. So you may be showing others how to build a solid foundation. Also, your ability to rebuild at this stage in your life, and what you may be teaching others, is having more confidence in your ability to rebuild. If the world is at war, if the world is burning down, if there are tower moments, because there always are, but when they hit a little too close to home and you are affected, you know now that you can rebuild. And so you could just cross that right off your stress list and your worry list of panic, right? So putting the mind at ease in regards to that, controlling the mind and shutting off thoughts of paranoia about that, right, is key. Because otherwise we attract problems. Law of attraction and manifestation gets activated, and it's all negative. We don't want that. You want to manifest. the opposite. And having confidence in yourself that you can do it. That's the key. It's not, will God come and save me? Will something come and rescue me? It's no, I will, if and when I have to step up to bat, hit a home run. I just will. I will pull it off, you know? Um, there's also this sense here in all of this panic of still getting into some trouble or still being harassed even afterward. So one of the things you may be looking at in your life right now is like getting harassed repeatedly when you feel you already paid your debt, and this could, and again, you want to watch out for any physical manifestations of this, whether it be heart related, stress related, immune system related, right? Sleeplessness, things like this. But people seem to be sort of threatening you even after this. And so you may also be evaluating your relationships and the systems you're involved in and being like, it's never good enough. It's just never, you got to be careful who you trust. And you may really have an attitude of like, trust no one, which isn't entirely wrong, but you may be examining what that means for you and how you can be healthier with that, because you also have people you genuinely love and would like to let in a bit more. Interesting. Melakantian 9330. Melakantian 9330. Luda, aka Luda. Okay. Luda says, okay, just a general reading. Anything that comes out for Luda. And are we at last call? Let me know. Let me know if we are at last call in the comments, Diana. Oh my. Okay. So Luda. Let's see what comes up for Luda. So Luda, what I feel is going on with you here is almost like a train jumper. There's this image of you as a male. It's kind of like a hobo with his hobo sack and one tooth, It's like eating a can of beans. I don't know. I mean, there is a sense here of you being homeless, but feeling rich. And you're rich because of your life experiences, the stories you have to tell, the people you meet up with as you hop trains. Sometimes you cross paths again. Your ability to meet people, your ability to always have a pet with you. I don't know what the heck is going on or how you can even afford to take care of, but like, it's like you got a dog with you, or you've got like a favorite squirrel in this town, and you've got like, I don't know, animals just seem to come up to you. You're like Snow White. You have a connection to the universe. You have a connection to nature, others, animals, yourself, your authentic self. But you definitely appear to be a train hopper. And in doing that, you got into a bit of a predicament, as many homeless people do, where you can't get back out very easily. It becomes nearly impossible, seemingly so. It becomes impossible to set up camp somewhere, make a living, sustain yourself, and to be able to find enough, I want to say consistent work, because your personality and your lifestyle and your tendencies weren't designed for that. So you can end up being a bit of a turnoff to those people that are normies, and they could see you as, like a wharf rat, an outsider, a menace. So it became difficult, as it does in these systems. And so you spent quite a few years dreaming of what it would have been had you done that, and trying to let go of this angst, realizing that you would probably die this way, right? Train jumping, without comfort ever, without real comfort, like a home and a bed and a family, and so I think that you were, and what is affecting you now is holding on to the blessings that you have, holding on to an attitude of gratitude, and really owning your life, saying to yourself, and this is what you need to be doing now, these are the choices that I made and I own it. This is my story and I'm going to make the best of it. Instead of getting in the waiting place where you're stuck between two worlds, this is my reality that I created and I really did love, but this is the reality I wish I had, and I will probably never get there. And you just get stuck, okay, mentally and emotionally there. So where you are right now in your life, you're sandwiched between what you want to have and what you actually have and have created. And it's up to you how you write that ending. Okay, you could spend the rest of your days wishing you could rewrite the ending, or you could write the ending that you want. And I think you need to look more at your positions of power and how you could use your tools and experiences, wisdom and knowledge, networking abilities, what have you, to gain the comforts that you want, but not in the traditional way you're thinking you have to, because they do exist outside of what you think. Let's move on to Tweety D. Tweety D, aka Abby. Abby says, does a connection from the past have a role in my current challenges? Current challenges for you? Well, yes, and it always will, because the things that we're going through, we are going through because we didn't nail it before. Again, there can be a lot of reasons, circumstances, that keep us from it, but also just not putting in enough effort, for example. So yes, everything we're going through is an old story being retold so that we can nail it, achieve, level up. I think that currently some of the stuff you're going through, I see loss. I see a feeling of having things taken from you. There was a situation also in what feels like a romantic partnership. Now, this could be hitting in romance, but it could also be hitting in a family system because you reincarnated with this person several times. So you could be feeling lost there as well. Maybe a lack of trust. It's like, who can I count on? Who can I build with? And I think one of the big lessons here is to be able to say, I am choosing to do this my own way. I am taking charge. I'm going to put myself in a position of power, but I'm not going to look so much to shared income or spousal support or the outside world or the banks or the government or my employer. I'm not looking out there anymore, because it's looking to others to help you build or to make you feel that you're on the right path that has actually cost you the most. Okay, so this is all about you being the main character, okay, and power player. Christina Hernandez, 7193. Christina says, okay, and we are doing last call. So if you wanted to get a reading, now is the time. Christina Hernandez, 7193 says, hi, I would like a general reading, anything that connects to now, but also I have 3 birthmarks, one on my neck, arm, and back. I'm curious, how would those connect to my past lives? One on my neck, arm, and back. I think I'm looking at the one on the neck, and then I'm looking at the one on the back. So it looks like there would have been something landing on you, like wood. You would have found yourself at one point in a fire. And I'm so sorry, some of these readings. I forgot what past life readings are actually like. Now that I'm hearing myself doing so many in a row, I'm like, oh my God, this show is horrible. But you guys seem to be enjoying it. Okay. So anyways, it will be added to the 2026 lineup if I get a ton of feedback and you guys show that you want it. Okay. Past life readings are a lot of grief. Sometimes there's a lot to work through. That's the point of them coming up. I'm sorry. It appears that there was a fire and things were falling on you. Okay. Quite heavy, like, not little pieces of wood, but like big planks of wood, um, support beams is the word I'm looking for, support beams. Um, and I think that you may have also been prone in those areas, when you were younger in this life to like, again, it's this, I'm a little kid, I'm on the playground and I fell off the slide or whatever, or something crazy happened in gym class, or I get hit a lot in this area, or I hit doors in this area or get hooked on things. So you do have to watch, but I can't prescribe or diagnose. I feel ultimately, like you were able to get out of that situation um, through inhalation. So you weren't really feeling all of that. Okay. That doesn't mean it doesn't leave a mark. And while you would have passed, you may have some preoccupation, I'm hearing, almost obsession at times with fire. And you can be very paranoid about things like leaving the stove on, or do I smell fire? You may smell fire. It's called clairaugusting. You smell phantom odors and flavors that aren't there. Everyone will think you're crazy, but you're smelling a cigarette. You're smelling your deceased aunt's cigarette. You're getting a visit from your aunt. You can smell smoke. It's like, is it on my clothes? Is everyone smelling that? And everyone's like, what the hell are you talking about? So you may smell smoke. You may be paranoid about house fires. And it's not to say that it's going to happen again necessarily, but you may feel like you have to prevent it and warn other people about it. You could also have a sensitivity to inhalation, asphyxiation, drowning. Okay, all of these things. So yes. All right, definitely. And that's, really for anyone with like birthmarks or a place of injury from when you were younger, disease, all kinds of things that happen to the body are typically a manifestation of a past life coming to the forefront. Jennifer Barone, is there no question connected to this? Okay, so Jennifer Barone, I'm just going to check something real quick on my phone. Hold on, you guys. Give me a second. And hopefully it does not disconnect my TikTok. If it does, I'll come right back. It should be fine. Okay, give me a minute here. Okay, is TikTok all right, even though I had to do that? Hopefully everyone is still here. Okay, perfect. Thank you, TikTok. Thank you for the hearts. I appreciate you. All right, Jennifer Barone is next, and there is no specific question. So let's just see what is coming up. Jennifer. Okay, you seem to be managing an awful lot. I see you in a situation where you are managing what looks like other people's problems, predominantly other people's kids. And you would have been like an indentured servant to this tall guy who yelled a lot and saw his kids and every other human being as like a tool to make money with, which wasn't, I guess, uncommon, for the times. I'm feeling like early 1500s. And he would have a wife who never really left the house, like back in the house. You hated being in the house. You would do anything to avoid the house. The house was heavy, heavy, heavy energy. And a bunch of kids had died, and you were responsible for like burying them. And I think you were shocked and appalled at how the parents didn't care. It was like one kid down, and you would bury it, and there was like no grieving process. It was like, let's eat dinner. And you were like, what is this? You didn't want to have anything to do with any of this. And because you were basically like an indentured servant, type situation with them, you were going to be the maid, you were going to be the nanny, you were going to be the housekeeper. You were going to do all of this forever. You were never going to go off and get married. And, not that you wanted to. You would have liked to have had a love partner, actually. But you definitely didn't want to have kids. So what happens in a situation like this is that your life is basically, and I think it was your father's debt. I don't even think it was your debt. Okay. Your life was basically forfeited where you couldn't do anything original, for this debt and for these rancid people. And you showed up and you did your best, because sometimes you were the only one who loved these kids. And it feels like you're reading, whether you're reading, books, or you're kind of writing, and you seem to be struggling. So I don't know if you were illiterate at one point and you taught yourself. It feels like you didn't even really go to school. You seem to be teaching yourself to read, and you like to get lost in not necessarily fairy tale stories, but more like science and philosophy and spirituality and the stars, and like, I just, numbers even. Like, you were very, very intelligent. And I think that what you're doing, you actually ended up inheriting some stuff. Interesting. He kicked it and you inherited some stuff. And she was already dead. So, I mean, hey, in the end, whatever. It didn't end up that bad, but I do think that the kids paid it forward to you. And I do think that you felt at that point it was kind of a little too late to get into, it's almost like interpersonal relationships, or maybe you felt it was too late to get into romance or whatever. So that was forfeited, but you ended up pretty comfortable in the end. I think in this life, what you're trying to do is be completely honest about what you want, and not allow yourself to be sold short, not selling yourself short, not getting involved in systems that you don't feel are feeding your soul. Especially when you've got a door wide open and you could just leave. Then there's no one to blame but yourself. Okay? Because what you don't want in this life is to run out of time. And that's what happened there, is by the time you were free, by the time you had benefits, it was too late for a lot of things, or so you thought. And there's some validity to that. So in this life, what you're trying to do right now is make sure you don't run out of time. Okay. And I would say that you're being tested right now, so that you can hear that tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. The sand is falling, right? What changes need to be made? Where are you doing things out of servitude where you shouldn't be anymore? Yeah, so that'll come up as a bit of a reminder. It could also feel like a lot of your work is unfulfilling at this stage in your life, things that you do, whatever your work is, work in general. And it could also feel like you really have a passion for getting into the sciences, philosophy, and teaching it as well. Okay, talking about these things, but possibly some form of publishing or communicating on it. Interesting. We have another one for Read at Distracted Mom. Okay. Is that Read? Is that the name, I guess? Read at Distracted Mom, and I do not see a question. So let's just go ahead and see what comes up for Read, aka Distracted Mom. Okay. So when I go over here with your past lives, I feel like you would have been a dentist. Maybe you hate the dentist now. I don't know, or maybe you love the dentist, but feels like you would have been a dentist. I'm seeing is this German? Maybe you're German. Um very blonde hair. You're almost like almost white hair. Um you know what? I'm gonna have to go Polish on this. So Poland, connections to Poland, and maybe you do in this life again have connections to Poland. You know, that's entirely possible. That happens a lot. But very blonde hair to the point where it's almost like white. I think they call them white heads. I think that's a reference to the old Polish ladies, though. I don't know. Real blue eyes, like very light blue. And you're tall and you're kind of, you're kind of a bigger guy. And it's a little intimidating to have this dentist coming in and like yanking teeth out of your face. You know what I mean? It's like, ugh. So there was definitely hatred toward you as a dentist. Hatred toward dentists is super common. They actually have one of the highest suicide rates in any field because they're so disliked, and it's traumatizing for the dentist, But I think you were good at what you did, and you were as loving and gentle as you could be. You were also very matter of fact, like, look, this tooth has got to come out because you've got an infection. It's got to come out. Like, you handled business and you were emotionless about it, but you had a heart for people. And I think that you were good at what you did, but it took you a while to get there. And it may have been something that was done within the family, or the family pushed you into it, or the family worshiped you for doing it, or whatever. You got perks from the family of origin for doing it. Therefore, it was very hard to back out of, because you had this understanding that like you needed their support, but you didn't really. It was mental. You didn't process very much. You definitely didn't process your emotions. You didn't allow yourself to be authentic in regards to what you wanted to do and had passion for. You were very limited in your relationships, including in love. You're almost like a rock. Like, there was just kind of no way to get in with you because you were so strict on what you would allow yourself to feel and think, so that you never had to admit to the things that needed to be fixed. So you just kept dentisting, right? As a sport, as a verb, I don't know. And I think that while you had a comfortable life financially, it was lonely, it was isolated, and it was of your own making. And I think what you're doing in this life and currently is dealing with the fact that some people may have harsh feelings toward you. They may see you as someone they can't trust, or someone who has bad intentions toward them, when you really have loving intentions. But sometimes the things that maybe you're contributing to aren't the best systems. And you do have to hold yourself accountable and take responsibility for that. Are you working for a toxic company that harms others? Are you on the wrong side of fights? What's going on? So you do need to analyze that. And there could also be a lot of testing happening in your life right now, where you're being pushed almost like you have to purge this false sense, break down that brick wall, allow your heart, to shine and to grow and to touch other people's hearts, to create real connection with the humans, where you're not in a superior position to them, or you don't have your back up or your guard up, but you're vulnerable. You're transparent. You have deeper levels of intimacy. You want to have deeper levels of intimacy with people. I'm not just talking romantic. I'm talking, in general. And that's going to require that you get in touch with your emotions and you get comfortable in the discomfort of what you're thinking and you're feeling. I'm going deaf in the left. And that is always mediumship. Right ear ringing is psychic ability. Left ear ringing is mediumship activated. The grandmothers used to say left for love, right for spite, and that was fairly accurate. So a ringing, a tinnitus in the ears, a pressure, that's Your mediumistic ability is kicking in. One of the things you don't want to admit to the world is that you're a medium, that you're very spiritual, that you could be healing people in other ways. You don't have to be a dentist or a nurse or whatever. I mean, you can heal people by channeling. This could also be songs, music. See with the guitar, see with the piano, channeling. My students who come in, and it's just sort of a message for everyone, my students who come in for the psychic mediumship course, often, not all, but often, they'll go out and get a record label, and they never sang publicly a day in their life. I've seen them go off and start making artwork, and they're vending it and they're selling it in shops. They become writers. This is all the right side of the brain. Okay, so intuitive intelligence is directly connected to channeling ability, which hits art, right? Singing, pick up a guitar, you could play by ear all of a sudden. What? I tried as a kid. Why was I able to pick it up now? Because you are more in tuned. So mediumship is a gateway for you, and you're going to want to figure out for what else, Deb Basil, 8708. Okay, Deb Basil, 8708. General reading for Deb. General reading. Deb, past lives affecting her. You may have been exposed to a very angry paternal energy in a previous life. You are a male and you're not getting it as bad as your sisters did, but you are witnessing it and you are really wanting to defend them, and you were really wanting to kill him almost, because he's so toxic and aggressive. And he reminds me of the kind of dad, a lot of the dads were like this. I mean, certainly mine was, but it's get drunk and beat the kids, get drunk and beat the shit out of the kids and the wife, and just beat everyone to death. And it was every day. It was just the way it was done. You go to work, and because you went to work and you got a paycheck, you can come home, drink, and beat everyone. Okay. I don't think this was a very radical life necessarily. I think this was normal for the times, which is the problem, because it made you susceptible to agreement, overlooking it, passivity, right? You accepted what was happening at some point. And instead of confronting him, you almost started oddly worshiping him. A lot of people who have daddy issues, and we need to look into this more. A lot of people who have daddy issues, they worship their father who is absentee or toxic or whatever, deadbeat dad or abusive or abused the mom or was a narc. They worship him because he's the closest thing they had to a male figure that they could build their identity off of. And his absence, was essentially allowing for a lot of fantasy storylines to develop. I think that we're talking here about the absence of his love, the absence of his true character or personality, because all he was this abuser. And what you wanted so desperately was to not feel like a victim and to feel like you could have protected your sisters, because there were other things that he did. What ended up, though, happening again was that you kind of aligned with him in a way where you didn't ever really fully confront him. And at some point you ended up kind of taking care of him even as he got older, and he was all right with you. Like I said, he wasn't that bad with you, and you got his money and this and that and the other. Okay. But you carry guilt from not ever fighting. Even though you couldn't fight as a kid, you could have fought more as an adult, or you could have fought in other ways. You could have also supported your sisters in other ways. You didn't really do any of this. So what happens now is that you are reborn into this life, and currently you are feeling very much not only inclined, but responsible to others to fight for them. You may be really triggered by injustice. You may be triggered by people being victimized. And you may feel still, though, as though you can't do anything about it. So it can upset you and emotionally disrupt you on a deep level. And you could be like, I am a level 4 empath. I feel everything for everyone. But the question is, what are you doing about it? Are you in activism? Are you really a part of the revolution? Who are you boycotting? What choices do you make throughout the day? Even though they may seem small, they're huge. They're everything. How are you proving, that you really want to help other people and sort of pay that debt off? Okay, who are being victimized? You could also be seeing this right now in your life as an obstacle with the paternal energy in your life. And this could look very much like maybe at one point dad was even really relying on you, or you felt like you couldn't rely on him, or there could have been opportunities there to actually become quite close to your father and to make peace with that in this life. But you could be reliving all those things right now, whatever that means for you, because he directly affected your identity and in such a negative, toxic way that in this life, you could have a relationship with your father, good, bad, or otherwise, that you choose to positively affect your identity. Okay. Let's move on to Janet Gomez. She just under the table. She's like, zoom, 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 zoom. I felt something on my leg. I don't know if she was under there or not. It's crazy. I'll see her go back here, and then she'll come out of this room up over here. I'm like, what the hell? All right. Janet Gomez. Janet Gomez, no particular question. Okay. So let's just see what comes up. See what comes up for Janet Gomez, past life reading. Thanks so much for the support, you guys. Please do give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind. Let me know where you're tuning in from. All right, it really helps me out a lot. Janet, what is affecting you now? Okay. I see chains, and I see an almost like dungeonous area where you seem to be in charge of taking the chains and hooking them up through holes and making what appears to be a stationary system, but where these prisoners will walk. I don't even know what the hell that means, but it looks like a chain gang kind of, it looks like a factory, like they're going to move. They're going to move when you allow them or you tell them to move, but they're going to like move maybe in a circle somehow, or almost like an oval shape. And these chains go through these holes, these hoops, and the chains are connected directly to them. This is not kosher in any capacity. Like, this is not okay. But it is apparently justified within the system because you're told that they were like criminals. They stole something. Maybe they were poor. They owed tax. They're part of basically those slave system. It's not any different than what goes on in today's prison system in America. Okay, where it's a for-profit prison system. People are taken off the streets and put to work for McDonald's. Okay, it's no different. But this is never acceptable. The karmic debt must be paid for this. And the fact that you compliant, you didn't treat them horribly, but you didn't set them free. You didn't become a revolutionary fighting the system. You continued to do this for many, many years. I feel like you retired from this type of work. You retired comfortably, but you were haunted. I'm seeing the Scrooge movie. And for those of you that are getting messages like this, don't think this is the only past life you lived. We all have work to do. It's not that big of a deal. There are other things that you did incredibly right, I'm sure. We're just not talking about that right now. So it doesn't make you a bad person. It depends on the decisions you make. You didn't have to be a bad person back then either. You chose to. So don't do it again, right? But I've seen the Scrooge movie, and the movie of Scrooge, the storyline of the movie Scrooge is, I'm seeing Bill Murray. I'm seeing Scrooged with the fairy. Hilarious. It's in my top 5. But anyways, the storyline there is that he was haunted. He was haunted because of the greed. He had so much, but he couldn't be comfortable and enjoy it because of the greed. Okay. Because of the damage he did to others. And so he was haunted and confronted with his life. Anyways, that's how you lived. So even after you sort of retired, let's say you retired, you had all this money, you had a significant position of power too, like in the community and with this like for-profit prison system and with other people who were higher ups. Like you never had to want for anything. You even had friends, I guess, if you can call shit company like that friends, but you did. You had acquaintances. You had people who did the same type of thing that you did. You had company. But the thing is, when you were sitting in your house, in your chair, in front of the fire, you were haunted by the ghosts, the spirits, the things that you saw with these people, their torture, their trauma. What happens now? So now you have a high calling of responsibility to the prison system, to the disenfranchised, to the marginalized. You may have experienced some of this yourself directly or even within your inner circle. So it may not be like, I want to help prisoners be in a better, you know what I mean? Have more justice for an unjust system. It may not even be that far off. It may be hitting quite close to home at different times in your life. And it's also that, but it's you understanding that things are unjust and unfair and are set up to make certain groups of people fail so that they can be taken advantage of by a vampiring system. And however you choose to do that is going to be up to you for the most part. I would have to do a closer look at your life contract reading. I don't know specifically as far as career goes and stuff. We'd have to look, but I do think you're good to go in any way, shape, and form you choose to, as long as you are making an impact and you're not silencing yourself with that and you're not allowing other people. And here's the big thing now, you're being tested by a lot of other people around you who think wrong. Okay. Who want to see people victimized, who want to see more of this toxic system persist. How are you speaking out and handling that? It is your modern day version of breaking those chains and setting them free and walking away from that line of work forever. We're going to move on to a low T5X. I would like a general reading too, please, Ivy. I'm open to anything regarding my life purpose right now and highest good. I made a PayPal payment right now. Okay, thank you. So low life purpose. I will tell you straight away, even in just reading your name, I'm choking. I'm starting to, especially on the left side, which is the past. Okay, so let's get into this. Low, past life reading for low. And Lo wants to know about life purpose. Okay, life purpose in particular. Okay. You're here to speak, but you're also here to know when not to speak. You may have in a previous life said too much and gotten yourself. You may have gotten other people, and you may have fed the wrong side. So we have to be careful with our words, especially when we drink, because sometimes we can expose or make vulnerable situations and people that we should be protecting. You are coming through as a male who would have, I feel like I'm in the late 1600s to early 1700s. I guess this is a brothel. This is gross, though. I mean, it's very, ugh. How do you even think that way? What? But everyone's so dirty. I mean, it seems like you're getting drunk, you're sleeping with these women, you're very much paying for it, but sometimes you're even getting it for free, which says to me you were a frequent flyer. You didn't always have to pay for it, right? You had perks. So you are in this, sorry, I'm fasting. You are in this situation where you are knowing a lot about, I don't know if this is like, I'm hearing insider trading. You're knowing a lot about people's personal business, people's personal lives. You are also coming through sometimes as like a priest. So I wonder if people were telling you things, and when you were sloshed, you talked and bad things happened. Some people knew how to work you for info and you didn't see it coming. Maybe you thought they were your friends because they were often in the bar too or whatever, or you were blacked out. Who knows what you were thinking? But long story short, in this life currently, you may be very meticulous, or you're learning to. You're supposed to learn to be very meticulous about what you say, how much you share about other people, other people's lives, other people's secrets, and not being taken as a joke. If you have gone through periods of your life where you were maybe excessively drinking or using drugs or you were kind of wild, if people saw you as unhinged, they would see you as a bit of a joke, making a mockery out of you, either to your face, behind, whatever. You want to be done with any opportunity for anyone to do that. You want to not necessarily be taken more seriously by everyone. You don't really care. It's not coming from a place of ego for you. You don't care about that. You just don't want anyone getting hurt, and you want to be in a high, honest, authentic vibration. High moral standards, high ethical code of conduct. And through that, you are not like this dirty priest anymore. You are like a spiritual leader through example. But it's in, and this may be a lot of testing for you. This goes 50, 58 years for you where you're tested in your throat chakra. So to pass that karma, you have to be very meticulous in what you say and share and what you don't. You would be better off in this life to take a more observant position where you keep your cards close to your vest and you don't get into situations where you could get a loose tongue. Also, be careful with who you sleep with. If you've had a really high sex drive, and you are maybe combating people who say that like LGBTQ is wrong, prostitution is wrong, whatever it is. to my internet connection. It may just be the windy weather out here. I do get like 70-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, are we back, Diana? Can you just let me know and confirm 100% that we're back? I don't want to start talking until I see from you in the comment section. I'm back. Okay, thank you. And who is next? Christina Brignon or Brignon? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Sorry. Okay, Christina B says, question on my past life. I feel I am nostalgic with a life I haven't lived in this lifetime with New York City and also family living and possibly in Ireland. Okay, what do you see? I do think you have a connection to New York City. I also think you have a connection to like the Connecticut area and almost what looks a little bit like Long Island, although I can confuse those two. But yeah, I think though, yes, because it's here. So you may have traveled a bit and had desires to live somewhere nicer than, you know, where you were in New York. But yes, I think you have what is essentially I see passport, see immigration. So you would have come to New York from Ireland. You would have gone, and it has a little bit of the Leonardo DiCaprio feel, you know, in Gangs of New York energy here. So I can't tell if this is Brooklyn. I think I'm in Brooklyn, the Bronx. You may have lived in a couple different places, but it feels a bit slummy. It feels difficult. And you may have moved up the ladder so that you were eventually near rich people, very wealthy people. So it would have been like poverty, wealth, you know. And I think you did a lot of running around while you were there. You seem to be working in factories. You seem to be doing something with chickens or cleaning chickens or with meat. Defeathering chickens, chopping them up maybe or something, or you were in the part I think where you chopped them, processed them. Then I see newspaper work, and this may be where you started to move up the ladder a little bit. You may have done some work here where you are, I didn't realize, I think my Instagram stopped. So I'm going to yell this message out and I'm going to go fix that. You may have done some work where you were possibly selling newspapers or distributing. And then you were able to get into a position that was a bit higher up. So it's sort of like, you know, management. And it could have put you in a position of power too, almost like journalistic power, where you selected some stories and things like that. You may have been able at some point to also invest money, and you were investing in things like the paper that you had worked for once upon a time. You were investing in systems that you knew were always going to be there, always going to be needed. And I think it paid out handsomely for you. And what you really wanted to do while you were there was to build the city. You felt like New York was your home. And when you really get somewhere that you feel is home, you're willing to invest in it like you would invest in your own child, you know, your own life. And that's what you did. And so you worked with the community, you know, you had philanthropic endeavors, and you were, I want to say, sought after. And you felt like all of New York kind of became your stomping grounds. And you would have had a lot of fun when you were younger. Like you would have literally ran around from place to place. You had a good time. You also seem to have a lot of siblings or cousins. So it's like you may have brought a lot of family over. Like you guys may have been the first from Ireland, and then you brought everybody else over with you. So like 5 to 10 different families or family members. And you brought that culture and you didn't lose it. Okay, so you had some strict, I think this is a grandmother, but some strict people in your family who were like, we are not going to lose our culture. We are bringing it here. Okay, we don't abandon this. We don't come here and let it all go, to restart. And that's hard, as the Irish took a beating for that, for sure. But you held on. You built what also feels like Little Ireland. You know what I mean? Like you built like an actual Irish community up as well. So you stuck with your people when you got here. So yeah, there's a lot there. You may feel in this life though, like, yeah, you're inclined at times to go to New York or stay for longer periods of time, like a little vacation, isn't enough for you. You may want to live, but you may choose Brooklyn or the Bronx, versus like Manhattan, where you seem to be later in life, maybe to get into that youthful energy. But you may also have desire to go to Ireland, because you were kind of taken out of your home early. And you may want to get back into those roots, because everything with your roots from Ireland was like a story told to you. Like, this is where we came from, but you maybe couldn't really fully connect with that. And so in this life, you may have a strong desire to get back to Ireland. Now, and even set up home there. Sorry, Instagram, the live cut out because my internet cut out, and I fixed it. Sorry about that. If you were listening in for readings, you can switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium, and you can just scroll back a little bit and listen to what was missed. Not much, I don't think. I hope not. Sorry, my internet's getting wonky. I don't know. Maybe there's a storm coming. Let's see if we have any others. Yep, last call. It is last call. So if you would like to get a past life reading for yourself, go ahead and drop your $10 donation. Diana, my beautiful producer, is posting how you can leave that donation in the comment section. If you are on Instagram, Instagram is frozen again. I'll go fix it again. If you're on Instagram or TikTok, but actually, I'm not bothering. I don't even care. And, and if you are here on YouTube, you could do it all under one umbrella. Oh, Esmeralda Marie. And if you want to book a past life reading where you get a little more undivided attention, or you want to do it in privacy, it's up on my website. Okay. So you just go on to Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com, and, click past life reading, and it'll show you all of the options that we can do it that way as well. All right. Do we have any more coming in? Oh, okay. You're still checking and gathering them up. Okay, perfect. This is the perfect time for me to announce what's going on with these test shows. So the poll that I ran about a month and a half ago, where I asked you guys, what shows do you want to see me doing in 2026? I gave you a list of options, and you guys voted really highly on quite a few of them. So I'm going to try 3 out right now here at the end of November. And then I'm going off to Cali for a while in December. And when I get back, I'm going to do the 3 other ones, and whichever ones rank the highest because of your engagement are going to be added to my 2026 show lineup. The other day that was Friday, we did What Blessings Are Coming Your Way. And you guys blew that one out of the water. So much so that I didn't just add it to the 2026 show lineup. I added it onto my website, or it's getting added tonight or tomorrow. My assistant is putting it up there as a purchasable reading, okay, or something you can gift to someone else. It was uplifting. You can go back and watch. So when you want to hear what blessing is about to hit for you, there's going to be that show. We are adding it to the lineup. I am not getting rid of Dear Ivy, The Unbound Sage, or Ask Ivy. I'm keeping all 3 of those. Now, we also have coming up this Friday, pet readings. So if you want to get a reading on your living or deceased pet, you're going to want to tune in for that. And you can purchase your early reading now for that as well. Okay. And we have another one here from Icy Trina. Icy Z's Trina. Oh, Esmeralda Marie, I love you. Do you want to come up here? You want to come up here? Come on. Okay, Icy. You hear her? Icy Z Trina says, spot on. My dreams show me I am poor. Oh, okay, that's the reading I just did about New York City. Okay, so here's her confirmation, okay, if you guys think I'm bullshit. Here it is. Spot on, she says. My dreams show me I am poor, always, in New York City, and it's usually the 1800s, but that I eventually became rich into a farm style mansion with maids. Ta da! It's like I'm psychic or something. Okay. And that's the thing with it, is that sometimes you can feel a little dumb with that, So, you kind of want to go explore other things. You're still connected to it. You love the atmosphere, your home, but also, what parts were missing. You got your fill of Manhattan, da 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 da. What about Ireland? Um, so this is Peace V8H. ACAC ACE. Oh my God. I'm starting to lose my mind. I couldn't read that. ACE V8H. I just wanted to ask Ivy what past lives come up, what I'm supposed to do, anything she sees, maybe if going to court for child support. Okay, this just got very specific. Maybe if going to court for child support with my kids, for the other parent is a good idea. Ace. Let's see. I think it is a good idea because I think this is someone who took advantage of you in the past. So the past life connection between you and this other person is a situation here where it's karmically like debt is owed. This person is supposed to be doing right by you anyways. Okay. And that doesn't mean that they will. Typically in karmic connections, this is why I tell you guys getting it out. Okay. Because typically people don't want to pay their debt. They don't want to learn. They don't want to grow. They don't want to pay their debt. So this is a situation where this person owes you. And in the past life, the last past life, you guys have like 3 that are in alignment with this. And you have 5 total that are, I want to say none of them really, really good. You want out of this cycle. I feel like you don't want to deal with this person anymore. And one of the ways to ensure that you could do that is to finally stand up for yourself, to not allow this person to continuously come in and take advantage of you. This person is now taking advantage of you through other human beings they got you to create, right? So this can go on another generation. This negative karma can expand. And so you want to nip it in the bud, at least with you. You can. That's where your power lies. So I do think you need to pursue it. I think you also need to get more steady in your mind. I'm hearing steady in the head, steady in the head. You need to be more steady in the head about it, meaning you're not hemming and hawing. You're not saying, well, I wonder if we can compromise a little more. Well, maybe I should negotiate with this person a little bit more. Or here's probably how it's going to play out. If you decide to go and take it to court, you could find that all of a sudden, this person doesn't want it to go to court. They want to do a mediation. And in the mediation, they're jerking you around even more. And they can stretch out the timeline so that maybe they didn't receive certain paperwork, or they have to reschedule a court appointed session or date. Maybe they're working the kids in some capacity to spread negativity or alienation through one or many children. They're working a whole system here. And the more time you give this person, you've already given it 5 lifetimes. The more time you give this person, the more energy, the more power. Okay. And the more confidence that they can continue to go on doing this, not just to you, but to other people, including the kids. So it is the end of an era with this. It is you dropping the final hammer, right? The mallet of judgment, and saying, I am going to take my power back. But it starts in your mind. It starts with a decision to see it clearly and end it. You also so desperately, I want to say, need to let go of this almost all-consuming desire, like an addiction, to rewrite the ending with this person. If there was narcissistic abuse that went on here, for example, or any form of manipulation, this is so traumatic that the victim will desperately want the other person to come right, to admit their wrongs, to come clean, to show love, to not act like a monster, whatever it is. And that is not for you to keep wanting. What you should want is to again, protect yourself and ensure that you will not fall for something, like that again. I think that it's coming out, and this can involve trauma therapy, a need for better tools than what you've had in the past. You want to come out of the system of victimhood, essentially. And this is part of it. And you have this in a couple different areas. I'm not going to sugarcoat. You also have it with family, so this may be coming up around this time in regards to you and family and how you were positioned from birth to succumb to a system like this, to get yourself involved with people like this, or to negotiate your rights away, until you ended up in a predicament like this. And it's not at all uncommon. But again, I think trauma therapy is a good route to take. It's the same way, and this could be a general message. I think this is the third general message we've hit here tonight, where if you grew up in an abusive or a neglectful household, or you grew up with a family who taught you to overreach and minimize, yourself for others, it sets you up for attack for the rest of your life. You are like bait to users and abusers. Okay. That's how it happens. So we have to even look a little deeper than that in this life. But I think you're ready to do it. You just have to make your mind and make it up. And every time you get double-minded, stop yourself from doing that. And we are okay. And Ace says, wow, Ivy, I really was looking for this in such clarity. Yes. Okay, good. I'm happy that helped. I hope, and I didn't have time to read through all the comments, but please do comment and give a testimonial, for other people who need to see that I'm not talking out of my AWS here. But, also, I, just hope that this helps you guys to have more insight into why certain things are happening, and they can be so tough to come out of, because they are cycles. Just think of how long you've had certain habits in this life. Now add hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, okay, and many lifetimes onto that. Cut yourself some slack, give yourself a break, take a deep breath, okay? And, karma never misses, but karma works out in its sweet ass time for sure, okay? And you're no different in any of this. So have some grace, but keep working toward it. And it is so important to know our past lives. Most people don't start getting into them, women until about 32, men until 36, 37. So if you're here before that age, you're ahead of the game, and if you're here way after that, it's never too late to start, but we do want to acknowledge it. Okay. And it is around, again, 32 for women, 36, 37 for men, that your Akashic record guide starts showing up more in your life. That's the guide who holds all your past life information, starts showing up in your dreams also. And you start having a lot of past life flashback dreams and past life flashbacks while you're awake. It could also be the reason you're drawn to certain cultures or places or movies or cuisine. Okay. And when a past life partner, especially a soulmate or a karmic partner, shows up in your life, and soul tribe members as well, you will automatically be triggered into having past life flashbacks and things like that. So sometimes it's triggered not by age or your Akashic guide, but by a human who re-entered your life. Okay. So there is so fascinating. Okay, we do have the show. Okay, we are at time. All right, I think I got to everybody then. Thank you so much. So again, Friday is the next one, all right? And then I'll be out in Cali for a while, and then I'll do 3 more. So please keep it coming. So pet readings is going to be on the 28th. 9 p.m. Eastern, back here on all of these platforms. And you will either want to ask a question about your living or deceased pet, or you could just leave it open-ended and I can tell you what messages are coming through. And again, you can start dropping your donations for that now early. You guys, I think this show beat the other one, which I really didn't think was possible. But you guys were absolutely amazing. I'm really glad you enjoyed this. And I just want to say that this warms my heart, because I often find that in my line of work, people just want to hear about their love life, or the flavor of the month, or, when are they going to win the lottery, or, get that promotion at work. And that's not really hard work, but this is, and you guys fully embraced it. Right. So I'm just so excited about that. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Spirit. Have a good night, everyone. See you next time.